British Columbia, it is now 11 o'clock. We take you to Winnipeg and the public address announcer, Caroline Hunter.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Canadian Forces Flag Party, carrying the Canadian flag and the Canadian Forces ensign, joined by the escorts representing the three services, Army, Navy, and Air Force. Your escorts, Captain Muro from Victoria, Lieutenant Siasinski from Toronto, Sub-Lieutenant McCutcheon from Fredericton. The flag party is Commander Ward Officer Haynes from Massey, Flag Bearer Sergeant Ryan from Winnipeg, Ensign Bearer Sergeant Zororo, and Weapons Bearers Corporal DeWald and Master Seaman Vermette.
Flag party! Halt!
Bomber fans, please rise and join the Winnipeg Football Club in a moment of silence in recognition of and respect for those men and women who have bravely served our country at home and abroad for generations. Thank you. Please remain standing, remove your hats, face the Jumbotron at the north end of Canadian Stadium, and join Winnipeg's own Sergeant Cindy Scott in the singing of our national anthem.
Flag party! Present! Out!
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all thy son's commands, car ton bras sait porter l'épée, il sait porter la croix, ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
To all of you watching the game on
The
Armed
officials for
Forces
today's
Television,
contest.
we hope that someday soon you can come home safely. In Winnipeg, Steve Armitage, Kahari Jones, and Brenda Irvin. Steve?
Thank you, Elliot, and welcome to Canadian Stadium on this special day, Remembrance Day. This is the fourth meeting of the season between the Als and the Bombers. Winnipeg won the first three, including the game last week, minus their leading rusher, the second leading rusher in the CFL this season, Charles Roberts, and Blink is back.
Yeah, and I know Charles Roberts wanted to be in those last two games. He definitely was going for that rushing title, but I like the fact that now Charles Roberts is fresh. And one of the things Barry did is he asked Charles Roberts before last game if he wanted to go in the last regular season game, and he chose the team goals over the individual goals and said, I will sit down. And now what you have is a fresh Charles Roberts leading into the playoffs, and that has to be a scary proposition for the Montreal Alouettes.
That would be terrifying. defense. The Alouettes have their leading rusher back, Jared Payton. He's the son of NFL legend, the one that they idolized in Chicago. And he is a north-south runner, unlike his dad, who was definitely east-west.
Yes, he definitely is, and he's made a name for himself up north with 852 yards rushing this season. What I think that Montreal really needs from him is the 8 touchdowns. He led this team in touchdowns this year. He was their big man when they got close to the goal line, but when he was out, they found out what they had in Kerry Carter and Avon Coburn. All of these guys are going to be a big help to Marcus Brady today.
And Marcus Brady will be making his first playoff start at quarterback position for the Owls in place of Anthony Calvillo. Now it's time for game notes.
All right, game notes for offense, the Brady Bunch. This is officially Marcus Brady's team now, and they need him to really come up with some big plays and make good decisions all game long. On defense, it's all about blanket blank. Charles Roberts will be the #1 target for this defense. Stop Charles Roberts and make Winnipeg one-dimensional. For Winnipeg, on offense, the Beagle has landed. The man with many nicknames, Milt Stegall, the touchdown Beagle. And what is probably Milt Steagall's last game in Winnipeg, they will rely on him to do what he's done better than anyone in the CFL, score touchdowns. And on defense, what can Brown do for Blue? Doug Brown, the man in the middle, will need to stop Jared Payton and put pressure on Brady up front. A big task for a big man.
Well, the weather will be a factor today, not the temperature. It's a very pleasant +7, but the wind could be. They're calling for some gusty wind conditions this afternoon. In 16 years in the league, this is Jim Popp's first losing regular season instead of 8-10. He thinks his club should have been 12-6. They come into this one having lost 3 of their last 4. This is Doug Berry's first playoff game versus his old team. He coached offense for 4 years in Montreal. His Winnipeg team was 5-3-1 in the first half of this season, but slipped on offense, going to 5-4 in the second half. The Eastern semifinal, the winner of this game this afternoon here in Winnipeg, advancing to the Rogers Center in Toronto next week against the Argos. Bashir Livingston picked up earlier this week by the Alouettes, getting set to take the kick from Troy Westwood at the 10-yard line. Livingston at the 20 finds a hole. Livingston brought down at the 37-yard line by Kyrie Xavier, and that's exactly what the Alouettes wanted from Bashir Livingston.
Oh yeah, they knew what they had in Bashir Livingston. They wanted to get him in here for a few weeks now, talking to Pop, but they finally get him in, and they get him at the right time.
Marcus Brady making his first playoff start at quarterback.
Yeah, Marcus Brady, I mean, he has some experience, but they're going to need Marcus Brady. They're going to need Jared Payton really to take pressure off of Marcus Brady today. You look at the wide receivers, Thurman and Watkins definitely need to take the pressure off Cahoon, who's caught over 90 passes this year.
First and 10, Alouettes from the 37. They give to Jared Payton. Payton crosses the 40-yard line.
Big stop by Tom Canada as we see this offensive line with Seagraves out. Fritz is taking over at the left tackle. That's a matchup that we're going to look at all day, especially against Tom Canada.
It's an all-Canadian offensive line. Osoyo's BC, Montreal, Vancouver, Regina, and Whitby, Ontario.
Oh, yeah, they're from everywhere.
The ball was blowing away. That gives you an indication of how hard it is gusting here at Camden Stadium this afternoon. Right now, the Alouettes are playing into the wind. 2nd and 6. And they're resetting the 20-second clock for the Alouettes.
Not a sellout this game, but this crowd is loud, and they're going to make a difference in this match today.
From the 41, 2nd and 6, Brady out of the shotgun, sets, looking deep, and he was going for Watkins. Good coverage by Jerron Bolden. Bolden had a shot at that one.
Yes, he did. That ball hung up in the wind a little bit, but Jerron Bolden was right on him. They love Jerron Bolden. They're happy to have him back in the lineup after suffering a back injury a few weeks ago.
Here's Brenda Irving. Brenda, what have you got?
Well, I spoke with Montreal kicker Damon Duval about the wind. He says he has to keep the ball low in the air, and when punting, not leave much time between when the ball leaves his hand and touches his feet. He said he just hope he doesn't have to punt too much into the wind today.
Had one blocked, and there's a good example of what not to do in the wind. A high spiral. Stokes will be called for no yards. I don't see the flag yet. And down just outside the 25-yard line by Coburn. A flag is down. No yards will be the call. When we come back, Kevin Glenn and the Bombers will have the possession. Welcome back to Winnipeg. Not a great opening punt from Damon Duval of the Alouettes. That combined with the no yards penalty, and Winnipeg are in good field position.
Yeah, and they almost had another penalty on this as Fred Reed tries to get a block and get the refs say he got blocked into him. They get lucky with that one.
Backfield is empty. Roberts gets the pass from Kevin Glenn. And Charles Roberts gets the 45, brought down by Diamond Ferry.
Oh, yes, we go to the Winnipeg offense, and the two guys that are going to play a big part in this game, Kevin Glenn and Charles Roberts, connect on the first play. Kevin Glenn has to get back to form. For the receivers, you got the big three, Armstrong, Edwards, and Stiegel. Those guys have had the drops lately. Look for them to have big games. And one of the best offensive lines all year, gave up the least amount of sacks, led by good speed at right tackle.
A quick measurement on the play for Charles Roberts, and it is a first down. So that's the way you'd like to begin any game offensively, and especially an offense that struggled a little bit in the last part of the season. The Bombers 5-4. 1st and 10 for Kevin Glenn and company. And they get to Roberts. Roberts with a huge hole. Roberts down to the 35. Let's take a look at that Montreal defense.
All right, these guys are Chargers trying to stop Charles Roberts, and it starts with the guys up front. Anwar Stewart is the leader of this group. You look at the linebackers, very athletic crew of linebackers led by Kai Ellis in the middle, but both outside guys are going to be looked upon to stop the pass. And inside, you got halfbacks Drew and Cox. Both of these guys have big jobs in stopping Milt Stiegel.
2nd and less than 1. Juleji comes into the backfield, but Glenn decides to keep it, taking no chances on the exchange, and gets the first down with the quarterback sneak.
Yeah, they're starting out with good field position right now and really doing some good things in that first drive. That's what you want to have happen is you
a lot of pressure on that man, Kevin Glenn.
Oh, definitely, definitely. After the season that he's had, the first 11 games, he had a over 100 efficiency rating, and then to come back with in the last 7 with 75%, you know he wants to come out and play well.
Tight end Oosterhuis in the game for the Bombers. 1st and 10. They pitch to Blink. That's his nickname because if you blink, you miss him.
Oh yeah, and he is in blink form today, as you see it. One of the things that's great about Charles Roberts is he always makes that first guy miss. You know when he's in top form, and he has done that for the first 3 out of the first 4 plays that they've run so far, making that first guy miss and getting positive yards.
Lost his rushing title this year to Joe Smith of the BC Lions, and due in large part, I think, to setting up those last 2 games.
Oh, definitely. I know Charles Roberts, if he was in there, he would have made a good run at that rushing title. 2nd
and 6. Glenn from the shotgun. Good protection, and it's complete down to the 20. Terrence Edwards, one of the favored three guys in this lineup that have been so productive for the Bombers this season.
Oh yeah, and Terrence Edwards is leading the crew with the amount of yards that he got, over 1,200 yards catching the ball, and Kevin Glenn really looks like he's on his game at the start of this game. He's going back to the things that he's done earlier in the season, which is finding his reads and hitting guys quick right after they get out of the break.
The number 2 receiver in the CFL with 80 receptions, 1,280 yards. G. Roy Simon winning that title in the last game of the year. He's going deep. It's touchdown, Milt Stiegel. standing ovation for the man who could be playing his last home game as a Blue Bomber.
An absolutely perfect drive, ended the perfect way. Milt Stegall, the touchdown beagle, getting into the end zone. The Bombers couldn't have asked for a better start.
6 plays, 56 yards. The opening TD goes to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Glenn 3 for 3 in passing. The Bombers are pleased to hear that.
I have faith in them. They've done it all year. You don't judge a person on 1 or 2 games. You judge a person over the consistency that they've had throughout the season. And my receivers, my offensive line, our team, I think we've had a lot of consistency throughout the season. You know, we wouldn't be in this position if we didn't.
And down through the years, that man has been a model of consistency for the Blue Bombers, Milt Stegall. He opens the scoring here in the Eastern semifinal.
Yes, he has. And Milt Stegall does what he always does, is create space between him and the halfback.
Livingston, another good return, tripped up at about the 32, 33-yard line. A 20-yard return for Bashir Livingston. And this was the drive.
And you see the big guys making big plays for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, starting with Charles Roberts, Kevin Glenn getting the time with his offensive line and getting it to Edwards, and then seeing Milt Stegall just make enough space beyond Randy Drew to go get the ball in the end zone.
Well, let's see if the Alouettes can respond with a scoring play of their own. Avon Coburn in the backfield for the Owls. He gets the handoff from Marcus Brady. Has some running room on the right side, and he'll have the first down for the Alouettes.
We see Jerron Bolden and Avon Coburn getting involved a little bit. This is how you know that it's playoff football, when tempers run a little high. As Avon Coburn gets off a nice run on the outside. Again, we've seen what Avon Coburn can do in these last few games. He is the lightning to Jared Payton's thunder.
Let's take a look at that Winnipeg defense. As soon as the play is over, we'll take a look. It's a very impressive defense. Double tight for the Alouettes. Montreal 1st and 10. Brady swings it out to Anwar. Stewart tripped up at the 50-yard line.
We go to the Bomber defense, starting with the guys up front. Doug Brown and Tom Canada leading, one of the league leaders in the league with 12 sacks. Linebackers Barron Simpson, second in the league with 112 tackles. And the defensive backfield, we've already seen him involved in a couple of plays. Jerron Bolden is back in the lineup.
There's Barron Simpson patrolling the middle for the Bombers. We're now 2nd and 4. And Brady was looking for Watkins. It is incomplete.
And Jerron Bolden making his presence felt. He is covering people. You can tell he's fresh. He's come off a back injury where he could not even walk during certain times, but his back is feeling good now. As you can see, he's running around the field. Kerry Watkins is open for a minute, but they threw it a little late and allowed Jerron Bolden to make the play. Did you see Barron Simpson? Him and Luke Fritz having a little fun out there.
So for the second time, it's a punt from Damon Duval. This is a better one. He kept it a little lower. Stokes tripped up just shy of the 25-yard line. So when we come back, Kevin Glenn and the Winnipeg offense will go to work, leading 7-0.
Welcome back to Winnipeg, where the Bombers lead this game 7-0. And, you know, drop balls had been a concern for the Winnipeg receivers the past couple of games. And I had a chance to speak with receiver Milt Stegall about it yesterday. He said during practice what they've been doing is catching tennis balls instead of footballs. The theory being that you have to concentrate a little bit harder on catching that than a football. He said it's worked. Steve?
Thank you, Brenda. It would appear so, because Milt made that big touchdown grab and he makes a catch there. The Bombers have themselves in a bit of a hole. They were 1st and 10 from their own 9-yard. There was a holding call on that last Montreal punt.
Yeah, but like I said, Kevin Glenn looks like he's in form right now. You see it is Milt Stiegel. He doesn't have anyone over him, so he changes up the route. He just goes out 5 yards. Kevin Glenn gives him a perfect ball. Makes it 2nd and 2.
R.J. Franklin checking into the game for the Bombers, who are 2nd and 2. Roberts. And Roberts will be close to that first down.
The Montreal Alouettes look like they're playing on their heels right now. They don't know what exactly to expect. They need to get their feet up under them, especially with Charles Roberts moving like he is right now.
First down for the Bombers, who have an early 7-0 lead in this Eastern semifinal. Out of the shotgun, Glenn unloads quickly to the man on the wide side. Jamie Stoddard, only 11 receptions and 110 yards on the year. That's a big one.
Oh, yeah. Jamie Stoddard is as reliable as they come. You know he can make the big catch in traffic. As you see, Kevin Glenn again not giving the defense a chance to set before he's back. He takes his 2 steps and he puts the ball out there and is putting it in the right spots. He gives him a ball on his chest, so after he gets hit, he's able to hold on to the ball.
1st and 10. Glenn from the shotgun gives to Charles Roberts. Roberts coming up at about the 33-34 yard line.
Again, Charles Roberts on 2nd and 2. When you see Charles Roberts running like this, and Charles Roberts is underrated. Most people think of him as an east and west runner, but he can get up the middle and get those tough yards when need be, as evidenced by 16 touchdowns this year.
And I would think those 2 games off prior to this game really helped Charles Roberts.
Oh, definitely.
He's fresh. He's got some spring, some bounce in his legs. Not that he ever doesn't. The blitz was coming, and so is a big sign working its way across Canada Stadium. That's how much this wind is gusting. It is just blowing the signage onto the field.
Oh, yeah, and then that's what Montreal Alouettes needed was a sign on the field to stop this team a little bit. As you see the sign come up, that was the 13th man. The sign gets involved in the play.
That was the first incompletion in this game for Kevin Glenn. So I think they're going to repeat the 2nd down, or are they not?
No, that was a first down play, I believe. So this is 2nd down and 10 because Charles Roberts just got the first on the previous play. So that sign helped Montreal. It should know it's a home field sign, you know.
2nd and 10 Bombers. Kevin Glenn from the shotgun. He had time. It's complete. Short of the first down. RJ just couldn't get footing on that sideline and was unable to get to the first down marker.
Yep, but again, Kevin Glenn is really showing some poise in the pocket, throwing the ball well. But Montreal gets the stop they needed to get on this for this drive. They needed to stop the bleeding. You see Kevin Glenn throw that ball out there. R.J. Franklin, if he could have kept his footing, he probably would have had the first down. A good break for Montreal.
So Troy Westwood will get his first punt away. Remember, Pat Fleming, former punter, injured and not playing, so Westwood does well, keeps it low. This is Bashir Livingston. Livingston looking for room, still on his feet. Crosses the 35, brought down at the 36-yard line. A 45-yard kick and a 10-yard return from Bashir Livingston. Self-teeing golf balls. That's what I need. A luggage tag that finds lost baggage. A Montreal Gold Rush. Only the Dragons decide what flies and what dies. Join them in the den with an all-new Dragons Den Monday at 8 on CBC. Self-teeing golf ball. I need have to bend over.
I need a straight golf ball. That would help me out a lot.
Now they haven't invented one of those yet. Jarrett Payton is back in the backfield. Marcus Brady from the shotgun. The Alouettes 1st and 10 from the 37. This is what Brady does so well, extending the pocket and dumps it off to Carter. Carter's still on his feet. And Carter should have the first down.
And that was a play that was made by Marcus Brady and Marcus Brady alone. He gets outside the pocket, doesn't find anyone downfield, so buys time with his legs, enough for the people to leave Kerry Carter, and then he throws him the ball. As we see here, Marcus Brady gets outside. Kerry Carter looks like he's blocking on this play, but he buys enough time for Kerry Carter to get outside in the flat, and then Kerry Carter does the rest with his legs.
1st and 10, Alouettes from the 47. It's an audible from Marcus Brady out of the shotgun. Gives to Payton. Payton between the right guard and right tackle. Picks up a few yards. This Winnipeg defense very tough to run against. Stingiest in terms of first downs. They only gave up 99 over the season, #1 in the CFL in that area.
Yeah, one of their big goals against the Wind right now is to use the clock. Run the time off the clock so they get that second quarter with the win, and then they can start putting the ball up in the air.
And these are two teams that live and die on ball possession. Both of them are masters of the long drive. Brady from the shotgun. Kerry Watkins wide open. And that'll be the first down.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Ramada. You do your thing. Leave the rest to us.
A 15-yard pickup for the Alouettes, who are now 1st and 10 from the Bombers' 45. Brady from the shotgun. Quick swing pass to the right side to Ashton Davis. Davis tripped up at the 42.
Yeah, and all this is really a glorified run play. You just want to get one of your backs outside of the line, so he's just dealing with wide receivers instead of dealing with the defensive line. And as we look at Ashland Davis get up a little slowly, but you really rely on your receivers to get good blocks out there fast enough for Barron Simpson and the crew not to get to the play in time.
A gain of 3. 2nd and 7 for Montreal. From the 42. Complete. And we'll be close to the first down. Coburn is there to make the reception from Brady. Montreal mixing their plays well. Run pass.
They really are. And Marcus Brady looks very comfortable back there in the pocket. The line is giving him time to throw. And he's just throwing nice balls, especially against the wind. You want to just get the completions, move the ball down the field as quick, as efficiently as you can, and allow the team to eat up the clock.
Is there a secret to throwing into the wind, which Marcus Brady is doing now?
You know what? I think the biggest thing of throwing into the wind, I always liked it as a quarterback because you could just let it go. As long as you don't get the tip of the ball up too high so it floats away from you, but just let the ball go. And usually it'll get there. If you not get a nice spiral on the ball also, that definitely helps.
Nobody did it better than Michael Bishop last week for the Argos in that win over the Riders at Mosaic Stadium at Taylor Field.
No,
that was a masterful performance.
I've never seen anything like that against the wind, believe me.
3rd and 1. First gamble from Jim Pop and the Alouettes. Brady straight ahead. Should have it. When in doubt, keep it yourself.
Exactly, and one of the things that even when Anthony Cavillo was here, Marcus Brady was their quarterback sneak guy, so you know he has a lot of experience with it.
Let's hear from Marcus Brady talking about his first ever playoff start.
I feel excited, especially for me. This is my first playoff start. I've played in the playoff game before, quality time, quality minutes, but to actually get the start where we're going into the game, the team's, relying on me to perform well, to, lead this team. I feel excited.
Well, he's doing a good job in the leadership department right now. A flag on that play, on that running play, against the Alouettes. So that's not going to help Marcus Brady and company.
No, definitely not, especially when you're entering this field goal range right now.
Montreal number 67, 10-yard penalty. Repeat, first down.
When you're playing in an away playoff game, you want to play perfect football. There's perfect football as you can. They had a nice drive. As we look on the right-hand side here, you see Dave Mudge just get a little too friendly with the defensive end there. He takes an inside release, so if he just lets him go, he's fine, but he gets his arms around him. They're going to call that every time.
Lambert guilty of the hold. Brady out of the shotgun. Quick pass, complete to Kerry Watkins. Watkins still on his feet, looking for room on the outside. He's got it. Kerry Watkins down inside the 20, forced out of play by Kyrie Zebert.
Again, nice recognition by Marcus Brady at the beginning of this play. He has people falling all over him, coming on a blitz, and he finds him, throws a nice throw right in his chest, gets some good blocks downfield, and Kerry Watkins does the rest, going over to the other side of the field.
One of those good blocks coming from Avon Coburn.
As we see Tom Canada get loose on Brady, the quarterback, you got to take those and get right back up and do it again.
1st and 10, Alouettes from the 18. Good play action there. Cahoon down just outside the 5-yard line.
Again, beautiful drive right now by the Montreal Alouettes. They're mixing things up very well. They're using the run, they're using the play action, they're using the short pass game to their advantage, and they're keeping this Winnipeg Blue Bomber defense off balance with all the things that they're doing right now.
90 receptions over the course of the regular season. His first in this Eastern semifinal this afternoon. 1st and goal to go for the Owls from the 6. Coburn, Canada there to pull him down as he crashes inside the 5-yard line. And there goes the gun to end the opening quarter play here at Canadian Stadium on a windy afternoon in Winnipeg. And Montreal in scoring position. And when we come back, the Owls will try to punch it into the end zone and tie this game.
I think it's a very sacred day, and it needs to be protected in a very important and big way. And we, as parents, or if we are around young ones, we need to do our part to make sure that the youth are reminded of the dedication and commitment and sacrifice that people before us gave so that we can enjoy our freedom.
And we at the CFL on CBC echo those eloquent words from the Bombers' Troy Westwood. It is 2nd and goal to go for the Alouettes. The ball at the Bombers' 3-yard line. Brady up under his center, Brian Chew. Reverse, and it looks like it might work. Davis tripped up just shy of getting into the end zone. No indication from the officiating crew that the ball crossed the plane.
Wow. Great play by Art Charlton to run that play down, but Avon Coburn must have just got the ball over the yellow line. As you see Avon Coburn go across, now it's just a race. Coach Barry throws the flag. They may just look at this one.
We have our first challenge of this Eastern semifinal, as John Ireland will make his way under the hood here at Canadian Stadium, and he'll have some company.
Oh yes, we had George Black upstairs looking at this replay with him. I think it's a good move by the league to allow the referees on the field to have a little help upstairs and get away from the elements. I applaud the league for that move in the playoffs.
Winnipeg has challenged the ruling on the field and the ball carrier scored a touchdown. Who will review it?
So Jake Ireland will make the trip to the hood.
Oh, that is something. That's a good challenge to make, I think, but you don't know if the ball went over the plane. It looks like his knee might have been on the line.
And remember, it has to be conclusive.
It really does.
Do we get it from this angle?
They've already called it a touchdown. You see him drag him down. It looks like the ball may have gone over the plane. So from my view, it's going to be very tough for them to change this call. As we see Ike Charlton make the dive, his knee goes down right on the yellow line. I think they got to keep it a touchdown.
Was the ball above his knee?
Yeah, that's the question.
That's the point.
That is the question, but we got great replays on this play, so it looks like the ball is in front of him. This is probably the best replay that we have now that we know his knee was over the line. The ball looks like it might have been a little bit behind his knee, but it may not have.
Good effort on the part of Charlton in preventing.
The ball carrier's knee struck the playing surface prior to the ball breaking the plane. It'll be third down Montreal at the 1-yard line.
According to the 20,000 plus here at Canada Stadium, they agree with George Black and the officials.
Yeah, well,
they'll say that's a good call.
I don't think you'll find many people besides the 42 on the other sideline that disagree with that call.
So now it's 3rd and goal for the Alouettes, and they'll try and punch it in from the 1.
Yeah, and I think you definitely have to go for it at this time. You see the Montreal Alouettes, they have the field goal crew out.
They are going with Damon Duval, but they want a timeout.
This is a defining moment for the Montreal Alouettes. As you see them on the sideline, they are yelling for their coaches, we want to put this ball in.
Montreal.
With running backs like Carter, like Jared Payton, is that such a big decision?
I don't think it is, especially when you're in a away game. You're down by 7 points right now. This is a defining moment for this team. They're over there on the sidelines talking about it. You know these players are lobbying right now. They want the offense on the field.
Remembering, of course, that you're playing against a very, very good front four.
Yep, and everything goes. You weigh the positives and negatives as a coach. That's what you need as a coach to say. And as you see, Pop has made the decision. The offensive linemen are coming back on the field.
I agree with it.
Oh, yeah, you have
Ben
to do
Cahoon wanted them to go for it.
If your players want it, this is what I like to see. The players saying, hey, we can do this. We can put this ball in. Now it's up to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to stop this play.
3rd and goal from the 1. We are in the 2nd quarter. The Bombers are leading 7-0. This is a big play. And they stuffed them. The Bombers defense rising to the occasion. A goal line stand. When we come back, the Bombers will have the ball.
It's the biggest Canadian television event of the year.
Not the first time this season that the Bombers have come up with a goal line stand against the Owls.
No. The Bombers had a great stand against Montreal in Montreal earlier this season, and they do it again in the biggest time of the year to do it. And this all starts with the man in the middle, Barron Simpson, making his presence felt, getting the initial push on him, and allowing Gavin Walls and Tom Canada to come from the outside, tackle. He tries to get it on second effort, but the 3 of those guys definitely make the play. He tries to make it again on the second effort, but you see Gavin Walls, Tom Canada, Kyrie Saber, they all come up with the big stop.
The good news is the Bombers have the ball. The bad news is they're now playing into the wind. From the end zone, Glenn firing complete to Stiegel. And Milt Stiegel, who has the game's touchdown for the Bombers, has the first down.
And this is one of the first times we see Montreal in zone coverage. It looks like Kevin Glenn, it doesn't matter if it's man or zone, he's finding his receivers quick and throwing it. Again, he throws a dart with the wind, against the wind. It doesn't look like it's mattering too much. Great first down, especially when you're backed up on the 1 yard line.
A gain of 17 for the Bombers, who are now 1st and 10 from their own 18. Again, Glenn from the shotgun. Has time. Fires over the middle. Complete to his big target, Terrence Edwards.
Kevin Glenn using his main guys today. You see Charlie Roberts already. Now again, he gets in a little trouble. Montreal does a very good job of covering down the field. But again, look at this offensive line. They stay a body on a body. They give Kevin Glenn enough time to find his receiver in the middle of the field and get positive yards. You see Kevin Glenn, usually that's a no-no to throw over the middle late. But Kevin Glenn is seeing the field well now, makes the completion.
2nd and 5, Winnipeg. Glenn complete to O'Neal Wilson, and he'll be close to the first down. He tried to turn his body and drive the ball forward after the catch.
Oh yeah, and O'Neal Wilson has made some great catches this year. He makes another one. This throw is probably the most off that Kevin Glenn has been, but O'Neal Wilson is still able to make the catch and get the first down.
Bombers in front, courtesy of a early first quarter touchdown. Kevin Glenn of Milt Stiegel. Here now 1st and 10. Glenn almost had that one picked off. Hill was in the right place. Couldn't hang on.
Nice play by TJ Hill as Kevin Glenn tries to go to the well once again and go to his main man, Milt Stiegel. He finds him late. He looks right, then goes left. TJ Hill is just kind of hiding out in the weeds and makes a nice play.
Oh, get it, get it!
And Milt Stiegel takes a nice little hit at the end of that play, something he's very used to.
Glenn now 9 of 11 for 89 yards passing. Empty backfield. Glenn completing over the middle to Terrence Edwards. And Edwards brought down at the 38-yard line.
Yeah, and Terrence Edwards again not only catches the ball, but gets great yards after the catch. After the initial contact, he keeps fighting. This is the Winnipeg Blue Bombers that we saw for the first 11 games. Kevin Glenn getting the ball off quick, the receivers doing the rest.
3 receivers in the top 7 over the course of the regular season. And that's what Kevin Glenn is using well in this game.
One of the things we talked to Barry yesterday, and we talked to him about Kevin Glenn and what has happened the last 7 games. And one of the things that he said is that at the beginning of the year, they tried to throw the ball and get the ball off quick, do the fundamentals right. But then once you start having success with that, you want to go and try to do more things and go deeper and deeper with the football. Now they're back to the basics, and they're starting back at square one, and you can tell it's working out for them.
And so far, at least, no drop balls. 1st and 10, Winnipeg from the 39. O'Neal Wilson wide open, but good coverage on the part of Montreal, led by Davis Sanchez.
And that's what Montreal is going to need. Not allow these receivers to get yards after the catch. Looks like Kevin Glenn is on, so you want to just keep them in front of you and not allow the big play. And hopefully on one of these second downs, they can get the big stop that they need to stop the bleeding.
A gain of 4, 2nd and 6 for the Bombers. 3 receivers wide left. Glenn throwing on the run. And in and out of the arms. And just as I was talking about dropsies, are they calling this an interception?
It is.
They are. Davis Sanchez.
Davis Sanchez makes a big play on a mess up by O'Neal Wilson. He tries to catch the ball and turn upfield before he actually has the ball, and he pays the price for it. Davis Sanchez being the beneficiary.
When we come back, Marcus Brady and the Alouettes will have the football in good field position. Davis Sanchez with the interception, and the Montreal Alouettes will go to the attack. They are 1st and 10 from the 50.
As we see Kevin Glenn, he gets the half roll and throws a nice ball on the run, but you have to credit Chip Cox with this, touching him as soon as the ball is there. So O'Neal Wilson does not have a chance to put that ball in, and Davis Sanchez ends up with the football.
Brady from the shotgun. Under pressure, eludes that, is going deep. Looking for Delorier, he's got it. It's a catch down at the 11-yard line.
Fantastic catch by Delorier. And Brady buying time, getting away from the rush and throwing the ball out there, giving him a chance to catch the ball. And I love this throw because it's on the right side where only Delorier can get it. Look at that catch, going up to get it and getting a knee inbounds. Or did he get the knee inbounds? I think he got the foot down before he got the knee down. The ref was right there. He saw it all. No challenge.
Good positioning on the part of the line judge there. It is 1st and 10, Alouettes from the 11. Brady under pressure from Cincy, got the pass away. Delorier was in position. They rule it complete.
My goodness, I am impressed with these two quarterbacks today. I mean, Marcus Brady is doing whatever he can do. He's got the rush falling down all in front of his feet and still getting off a good play. Nice pass to Delorier. As we see Marcus Brady, you got one of the best tacklers in the league bearing down on him, still puts enough on the ball to get it out. We see Brady, he's been taking a lot of hits, but this is the playoffs.
But it's this ability to get outside the pocket that is such a big attribute for Marcus Brady, who tries the quarterback sneak, and once again, the Bombers defense comes up big.
Oh yeah, they're gonna have to try something different right now. I mean, this is the thing. They keep bumping their heads and bumping their heads against this Blue Bombers defense, and things are not working out. Did you see Marcel Belfay, the offensive coordinator? He is looking for an answer for this Winnipeg Blue Bomber defense right now. Hasn't found it so far.
Belfay in the booth because he thinks he gets a better view of the action on the field from up top.
He's getting a view of a good defense right now.
2nd and goal. This time, Carter leans in, touchdown, Montreal.
Nice play by the Montreal Alouettes to get Kerry Carter, their big man, guy who, when Jared Payton was out, he has taken a lot of the load, and he's shown that he can make that tough yard. Again, he has a head of steam. It's unlike a quarterback sneak where the quarterback doesn't get to really get that push in there. You got a 225-pound man getting himself right in the middle and scoring the touchdown.
Damon Duval to attempt the point after. And we are tied at 7 here at Canadian Stadium in Winnipeg on a blustery afternoon in this Eastern semifinal. A good one going here. We are tied at 7 in the 2nd quarter as the Alouettes get set to kick it off, and they're having to hold the ball because of the gusting wind as Damon Duval gets set to kick. Good kick with the wind. Stokes into his own end zone at the 10. Up the middle, crosses the 20, battles his way up to about 22 or 23-yard line. It's a 24-yard return. Let's take a look at that Montreal TD drive.
Oh, yeah, you really have to look at the last 2 drives. Starts out with the interception by Davis, and then Marcus Brady does the rest. He finds the Laurier on a couple of great passes, great catches and passes, ends up with Kerry Carter going over the end zone.
And that ties us at 7. But the Bombers have the ball. 1st and 10 from their own 23. They give to Roberts. On that last drive, they went with 7 straight passes. And now they seem to want to go back to Charles Roberts. TJ Hill in to make the stop.
Yep, and they're getting TJ Hill involved. He got his hands on the ball early on. Now he gets outside. The line does a very good job by stringing Charles Roberts out. And these linebackers are very athletic on this side, led by TJ Hill and Diamond Ferry. Both of them can run east-west very well, so that's not the place that you really want to make your living, is outside the tackles.
A loss of 3 on that last play. 2nd and 13 for the Bombers from the 20. Roberts split wide. Pass over the middle, complete. R.J. Franklin still on his feet, looking for room. And he'll be short of the 1st down. Had to get out to the 33, well short, in fact.
Yep, and I like these receivers are working hard. They're trying to get yards down the field, but it looks like Montreal is getting their legs under them. They got a 2nd and 13. It's so hard for an offense to get a 1st down in that situation. And R.J. Franklin does whatever he can to get upfield, but too many Montreal defensive guys in his face.
That brings in Troy Westwood in a punting situation. And if anybody knows how to keep the ball low into the wind, it should be Troy Westwood. Davis and Livingston back to take this punt. That's a good one. That's low, nearly blocked. Bounces. Livingston at the 50, still on his feet. Livingston brought down inside the Bomber territory, and they'll scrimmage when they come back from about the 52-yard line. 1st and 10, Alouettes. Carter, the big man, was still on his feet, but he wasn't going forwards. He was going sideward.
No, he stayed up for a long time on that play. Didn't get much out of it. It showed that he is ready to play football today.
This week on the hour, George Stroumboulopoulos interviews Richard Branson, Alan Alda, one of my favorites, Chris Jericho, and CFL Commissioner Mark Cohon. This is the place. This is the hour. Weeknights at 11 on CBC.
We have a game on our hands. Both defenses look like they're buckling down. It looked like these quarterbacks were going to take off with the game, but the defenses are ready to play also, as you saw by the gang tackle on Kerry Carter last play. As Kyrie Saint-Bear comes out.
Second and 8 situation facing Marcus Brady, who has played well thus far in this Eastern semifinal. Out of the shotgun. Noisy crowd. Brady slips, was not touched, went down on his own, planted that back foot, and it slipped as he came forward.
Oh yeah, and it's almost a good thing that he slipped, because Anthony Marlborough was coming off the edge on a blitz, halfback blitz on this play. He looks like he's in man-to-man coverage, and then he just takes off on the end of the line, no unblocked, and Marcus Brady probably does the best thing for him, and he gets down.
So it's 3rd and 14. Damon Duval, who averaged 47 yards a punt over the course of the regular season, has the wind at his back. If I was Keith Stokes, I think I'd be in the end zone.
Oh yeah.
This could be a boomer, but he's spiraling it. Stokes at the 10. At the 20. Still on his feet, brought down at the 31-32 yard line by the kicker, Damon Duval. A 45-yard punt, a 21-yard return.
Yeah, he tried to place that one and didn't want to get it down.
Today, Kahari, is the one they call the preacher, Baron Simpson, and you will explain why they call him the preacher.
Brought to you by Rogers, Canada's most reliable wireless network.
Let's say what time is it? Give me Bomber time. What time is it? What time is it? Come on in this thing. Come on. Oh.
First and 10, Bombers. Pass up the middle, complete. Armstrong tripped up at the 35-yard line by Chip Cox. Why do they call him the preacher?
Hey, because he is a preacher. I mean, he's ordained minister. He was ordained a few years ago. And you don't usually see middle linebackers as ministers, but hey, he does the job for both sides.
I'll just lob him up. You hit him out of the park.
That works for me.
A gain of 4 on that last play. 2nd and 6 for the Bombers from the 35. We're tied at 7 in the second quarter. That was a good play had it worked. A bit of a pick play intended for Stoddard.
Yep, it was a big play, and but they almost got away with it. Jamie Stoddard, again, Kevin Glenn is on the money. He's just dropping back, throwing those balls right where they need to be. Jamie Stoddard right in the chest. He gets the pick. And again, Cox helps him out with the pick by really coming up front on Armstrong. Jamie Stoddard just can't hold on to the ball.
Again, Troy Westwood has to come into the game to punt for the Bombers. Punt will come from the 25-yard line. Livingston at his own 35.
Let him go, let him go!
A low punt. Livingston looking for room. He fumbles. Who's got it? Big pile, and Winnipeg have it.
Turnovers. That will always kill you. They're magnified now because of the playoffs. Not what Bashir Livingston, he just tries to make a move. Tyrese Hebert gets his hand in there, doesn't touch Bashir, but touches the ball enough to get it out of Bashir Livingston's hands. Again, he's looking beyond Bashir Livingston already, but doesn't take care of the ball. That should be your first #1 priority, to make sure you have the ball. Tyrese Hebert gets it done.
Now let's see if the Bombers can cash in on that turnover. They are 1st and 10 from the Owls 35. They get to Roberts. Doesn't need much of a hole, and there wasn't one there. Bowman plugged it neatly and hung on to bring Charles Roberts down.
Yep, as you see the chippiness starting on both sides of the ball. These guys want this game, and they are playing hard. Charles Roberts hasn't been used all that much against the wind, so we have to see if he can get it going. As we see the line block, leave one man open for Charles John Bowman, but he really comes down hard on this play. Gets Charles up high while Kai Ellis takes him down low.
2nd and 6, Winnipeg. Glenn looking for Stiegel, and flags are down. Hill may have been in there early.
Oh yeah, and they were in the right place at the right time, but TJ Hill just was a little early.
When we come back to Canada Stadium, we'll straighten that one out. Maybe that guy's here too.
Welcome back to Winnipeg, where the score is tied at 7 apiece. And you know, one of the world's most holiest figures threw his support behind the Winnipeg Blue Bombers this week. The Dalai Lama was in Canada and approached by Winnipeg businessman David Aspern, asked to sign some bomber equipment. So the Dalai Lama signed a helmet and a ball and wrote in Tibetan, "Victory to the Blue Bombers." And Stephen Kahari, how is that for a little bit of inspiration today?
I think that's big-time inspiration if I'm a Bomber.
Hey, everything helps. Can't like that if you're Montreal, though. Dalai Lama doesn't like Montreal? What's that about?
good karma. It is 1st and 10 for the Bombers. The ball at the 16-yard line. We're tied at 7 in this Eastern semifinal. The clock is running 2:50 to play till halftime. Kevin Glenn. Charlie Roberts to his right. Armstrong alone. Roberts took the handoff from Glenn, tripped, and managed to get down to the 15-yard line.
You see, Montreal is very aggressive on first down right now. They want to stop Charles Roberts. He really got going in the first half. Now Kashama, as you see him on the side, he takes over for Bowman, and he just skates down the field. Charlie Roberts trips himself up, but Kashama is right there to make the play.
Could that be a little bit of rust on the part of Charles Roberts?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you're still getting your feet up under you. Definitely.
So 2nd and 9 now for Winnipeg. Armstrong alone, short side. Glenn looking over the middle. Complete to Terrence Edwards, who loses his helmet and comes up just short of the 10-yard line.
Terrence Edwards. And there is some hitting going on in there. I mean, Terrence Edwards goes in the middle. Again, Kevin Glenn makes a nice read, nice throw downhill. But it's tough to do that when you're 2nd and 10 and get that first down, especially with Montreal coming downhill and hitting the receivers as soon as they touch the ball. You see Boulay come downhill and get more than Edwards, get his helmet in the process.
So Troy Westwood kicking into the wind. It should be a chip shot for Westwood, who faced a lot of criticism for his lack of consistency here in Winnipeg this past season. 17-year veteran. Let's make it from the 18-yard line. And it's a good one. Winnipeg take a 3-point lead on the Montreal Alouettes with 1:52 to play in the second quarter here in Winnipeg. Here at Canada Stadium, 1:52 remaining in the opening half. Winnipeg, with a field goal from Troy Westwood, have taken the lead on Montreal, up by 3 as Doug Barry never looks like he's relaxed.
No, he's not a relaxed kind of guy, especially on the sidelines, and especially in a playoff situation like this when all of your mistakes are so magnified.
With Winnipeg forced to kick into the wind, the Alouettes have elected to return this one. Westwood has it teed up at the 35. And it looks as if it's bouncing in play. Flags go down. Don't forget, Warrior of the Game. We want you to log on to cbcsports.ca in the second half for the player who you think showed the heart and determination of a Warrior. We'll show you the winner in our post-game show. Warrior of the Game brought to you by the all-new 2007 GMC Sierra Professional Grade.
This is a big drive for Montreal Alouettes. They have a lot of time on the clock left. Their last 2 drives ended up down at the 1-yard line. 1 for a score, 1 not. But they've been moving the ball.
1st and 10 from the 45. They hit Watkins, and Watkins has plenty of room. Watkins. Touchdown, Montreal. A huge play for the Alouettes.
You have to credit the Montreal Alouettes, the offensive coordinator. They've been calling great plays all game, and this is another great call. They have, as we see Boulay up top, they have Marcus Brady roll out to the right, look like he's going to go to the right. Kerry Watkins again, one-on-one with Jerron Bolden, but he gets help out here. Luke Fritz comes out on the offensive line, gets enough of Jerron Bolden to free Kerry Watkins for the touchdown.
If Marcel Belfay called that one, it was perfect. 65 yards. He went in untouched as Damon Duval will attempt the point after. It's good. And the Alouettes have jumped on top of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers with a big strike from Marcus Brady, starting his first ever playoff game to Kerry Walker.
And this is what you do to an aggressive defense. As you see the whole defense moving to one side. I'm sorry, Paul Lambert was the one that got out there, got the block on Jerron Bolden, and there's no one else to block because everybody goes with Brady.
Watkins, the go-to man for Marcus Brady. Watkins, 3 receptions for 106 yards and 1 TD. He only had 1 TD over the course of the regular season. This, I would suggest, is bigger.
Oh, yeah, much bigger. I mean, this is where you want to have your touchdowns in a big game like this in the playoffs. And Marcus Brady, again, what can you say about this guy? He is playing outstanding football, moving, and because he has been moving so far early in this game, he has made the defense really go with him. And as you saw in that play, the whole defense went with Marcus when he went right, which allowed Kerry Watkins one-on-one with Jerron Bolden.
So what can Keith Stokes do in terms of a return here as Damon DeVell kicks off from the 35? Stokes to 15, 20, 25, and runs into a wall of white sweaters at the 25-yard line, and flags go down late. There is no love lost between these two teams.
Oh, no. They have such a big history against each other.
And that could have something to do with the back-to-back games.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
But I would think a lot will be said at halftime by the coaches. Control your emotions.
Yeah. Yeah, these teams are costing both of these players are costing their teams yardage. And in a playoff game, you have to put those things aside. You have to be able to control your emotions enough to do it within the whistles and not do it beyond the whistles because you don't know who's going to get called.
Jamie Stoddard called that time for unnecessary roughness. So now Kevin Glenn and the Bombers offense from a bit of a hole. 1st and 10 from the 13. Franklin brought down at the 17-yard line.
So we see TJ Hill just get outside and make that tackle quickly. Soon as the receiver touches the ball, this is what Montreal has been doing the whole second quarter.
2nd and 4 for the Bombers. Stiegel got a hand on it, but was unable to pull it in. We are moments away from halftime, and just a reminder that at the half, of course, we will have Elliott and the boys analyze what's taken place here at Camden Stadium in Winnipeg. And back in the day, we're going back to an Eastern semifinal in 1957. And there have been some good Eastern semifinals down through the years.
And this is turning out to be a good one. And again, that penalty comes back to haunt this team as they may take a safety on this play instead of giving the Montreal Alouettes the ball with over a minute remaining. Be interesting to see what Winnipeg decides to do.
Westward into punt. Everybody's shifting to the left. No upbacks here at all as Troy Westwood backs up into the end zone. Now running around, trying to kill the clock. Finally brought down with just over a minute to play. But the Bombers conceding a point.
I think it was a smart play by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as they concede those 2 points. They need to stop the bleeding on defense right now and really go back to playing fundamentally sound defense. Marcus Brady has had his way the last 3 series that they've had. Ended up with 2 touchdowns and a big stop on the goal line. But Montreal has a lot of confidence now knowing that they can move the ball against Winnipeg.
Jim Pop telling us yesterday that he has his team in the right position. He thinks they're going forward. Lots of stories of internal discord in the Alouettes camp. He said no, blown out of proportion. this is a good team that's pulling together at the right time.
And you know what? One of the things I think about Montreal, they thrive on chaos. They thrive in situations like this. I think those are the types of things that pull this team together. When you say that they're fighting with their coach or their problems. As you remember last year, Coach Matthews left in the middle of the season for health reasons, and they ended up going to the Grey Cup. No one believed they could. Now with Anthony Cavillo not coming back to the team because of family issues, this team is rallying behind Marcus Brady, rallying behind all of the negative press and making a go of it. And as you see, it hasn't bothered them at all this game.
Westwood kicking off. A low one. Livingston at his 30, 35. Looking for room. Tries to go the outside. Still on his feet. Finally dropped down at the 36-37 yard line, where the Alouettes will take over 1st and 10 now with a 6-point lead on the Bombers. And who would have guessed that?
I don't think many in this stadium would have guessed that, but the Montreal Alouettes felt confident coming into this game. We talked to Brian Chu before the game, and he mentioned that they have a lot of guys with a lot of experience on this team. Marcus Brady has experience. Even though this is his first start, he played a great game in Toronto a few years back in the playoffs.
1st and 10, Montreal from the 37. Brady swings it out to Coburn, and Coburn goes nowhere. Picks up a yard, maybe 2 on the play.
Good play by Kelly Malvo to keep that play in front of him and then come up and make the tackle. Avon Coburn just loses his balance on this play. Thing Winnipeg has to be wary of is giving up the big play, especially at this point in the game. They've given up already a couple of big plays, one to Kerry Watkins.
Loss 4 on the play. So it's 2nd and 14 Montreal. And they spot it at the 33. Bombers showing blitz. Brady from the shotgun. He was looking for Elijah Thurman. Thurman turned one way, and the ball went the other.
Yeah, and I think this is a case where Thurman did not read the blitz. He has a wheel route on this, but it looks like Marcus Brady was expecting him to just go on the out, give him an outlet because it was a blitz, and Thurman continues on with the wheel route. As you see, Thurman is going up the field already. Marcus Brady expects him to go out. Just a miscommunication.
And there hasn't been a lot of miscommunication between Brady and his receivers in this one. Montreal offenses look solid. Damon Duval. Short punt. A bounce. Stokes has to fall on it. And it's recovered by the Bombers, but all the way back to their own 20-yard line.
Oh, my goodness. These guys, I mean, you already have a tight coach on the sideline. He's being even tighter because of plays like this. As Stokes tries to run just a little too quickly. Luckily, Kelly Malvo is back there and makes the grab on that fumble.
Remember, this is the same Winnipeg team that dominated the East throughout much of the year. And it's only in the last little while that the wheels have come off for the Bombers, and they certainly seem to be spinning. But right now, they're just going to kill off the time here at Canada Stadium and go into the room trailing by 6.
And it is a tough thing to do, to beat a team 4 times, which is what they're trying to do against the Montreal Alouettes right now. And so Montreal learned a few things from last game because Winnipeg was playing for first place still.
And back-to-back.
Definitely.
Clock is running and showing now less than 10 as Kevin Glenn will take another knee. And the Bombers will leave the field and try to regroup. Go into the room trailing the underdogs in this Eastern semifinal, the Montreal Alouettes, by a count of 16-10. Now let's go down the sidelines, and Brenda with Jim Pop.
Well, Jim, as you know, the Winnipeg defense is aggressive. It's good, but what did you think of the job Marcus Brady and your offense did against them in that first half?
Our guys made plays, and we have to do that against their defense. And if we're able to continue making some big plays, we're gonna keep them on their toes, have a chance to win this game.
What's going to be your message to them at the half?
Just keep playing hard and, you know, play physical. And I say that every week. And as long as we take care of the ball and we play that way, we have a good chance of winning.
Thanks for this.
Okay, thank you.
Now let's go back up to Steve.
Thank you, Brenda, and keep this in the back of your mind. When the Alouettes are leading at halftime, they have a record of 7-1. Alouettes 16, Bombers 10 at the half.
First half of football, Montreal's got the lead thanks to the 65-yard touchdown pass, Brady to Watkins. But the question the Alouettes fans are going to be asking is, should they be leading by more? David Benefield, was this a touchdown?
No, I'm looking at where his knees hit and everything. No, definitely not.
Well, and it was a great challenge, you know, because Doug Barry didn't hesitate. He threw the challenge flag. Very smart on his part.
Very good decision to challenge that. His knee was down. The ball was behind his knee. Definitely not a touchdown.
You know, this year, as we welcome back David, Greg, and AJ, the referees have been beleaguered. Here they are probably seeing all of us agreeing that they made a good call.
They're shocked.
And they're wondering what exactly has happened. The apocalypse must be coming now. Greg, the one thing you saw, though, was after that play and then later, the Alouettes made a big adjustment on their goal line offense.
Well, then they went for it, but the play was very slow developing to Peyton, and they came up short. They handed the ball off at least 3-4 yards deep in the backfield. You can't do that when you're so close. It's got to be quick hitting. When they had that second chance to be able to score, they gave it to Kerry Carter, but as you'll notice, it's a quick hitting play. I mean, this guy is 240 pounds, but man, that's what you got to do. Quick hit that hole.
Greg, but we saw it last year in Grey Cup 206. The line got blown up. I mean, they got the wrong print, didn't get off the ball. You saw it today. They have to start coming off the ball in order to get this running game on track.
Yes.
I agree 100%. You can give the ball in the backfield 4 yards as long as your offensive line gets a push. So the key is the guys up front.
You know, you and Greg weren't exactly complimentary to the Montreal offensive line coming in. What have you seen different from them today?
Well, earlier on in the first quarter, they got a little bit better in the second quarter, but in the first quarter, they were not firing off. Just like you were saying, David, is that this is not the first time that this offensive line has not been able to capitalize when they're down on the one. This is the third time this year. And so they need to be able to fire off. Hopefully they're going to be better, make some adjustments in the second half.
Another guy who wasn't receiving a lot of compliments was Marcus Brady. Here's his numbers, 11 of 14, 187 yards, a touchdown. AJ, what are you seeing from him?
All right, he's been very efficient. He's actually made some plays with his legs, avoided a couple tackles here and there, and that's why he's got the great numbers.
Marcel Belfay, I got to say, Coach, you're doing a great job. You're calling a nice game, moving them around and everything like that. But can you make the adjustment for the second half?
And, you know, it's different than an Anthony Cavillo, who is definitely a pocket passer with an athletic quarterback. Not only is he going to have to scramble away from the pressure of that Winnipeg front, but misdirection works. You saw that work with the touchdown to Kerry Watkins. They flowed everybody to one side of the field, threw back, opportunity to get a touchdown.
All right, it should let everybody know that Winnipeg won the coin toss before the game. The wind there is at 43 kilometers an hour, gusting up to 56. They will have the choice of what to do in the second half. Also, don't forget Doug Barry with Brenda Irving still to come after back in the day. He's the first half hero, Marcus Brady.
Back in the day, a shift in time. Brought to you by Nissan, trucks and SUVs.
Perhaps the best way to describe the 1957 East Semi between Montreal and Ottawa would be ground and pound. Because of the cold and wet conditions, the teams chose to run the ball, and both had success. That's Pat Abruzzi, number 83. The Alouettes ran the ball most of the game, wearing out the Ottawa defense. The Rough Riders, for the most part, chose the same strategy and managed to keep the game close. But late, needing to score a touchdown, Ottawa went to the pass and were picked off. The end result? Montreal wins 24-15 as the two teams set a CFL record, a combined 686 rushing yards in a playoff game. Well, here in Regina, they had a pep rally earlier on today to get their fans riled up. I don't think they needed a lot of help. They're going to be riled up for this one. That game is later after the East semifinal comes to a conclusion. Barron, Simpson, and the Bombers were on fire early. They've cooled. Got to find it for the second half next.
And right now, Diamond Ferry and the Alouettes are doing and not dying. They have a 6-point lead as we get set to begin the second half of this Eastern semifinal here at Canada Stadium in Winnipeg. Full marks to Marcus Brady and the Alouettes offense.
Oh, yeah, you have to be impressed with what Marcus Brady did in that first half. I mean, 187 yards passing, and I like the fact that he is using his legs so effectively to buy time, to get away from the rush time and time again and find people downfield to get the ball to. The receivers have done a great job, and Belfay has called a great game so far.
And when it comes time to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, the big question is, where's Charles Roberts?
Yeah, Charles Roberts, he had a very good first series against this team, but then you just kind of lost him in there. He ran the ball a few times on first down, but they weren't able to get things going downfield, and they're going to need Charles Roberts in the second half.
Okay, let's join Brenda Irving with the head coach of the Blue Bombers, Doug Barry.
Well, Doug, your assessment of that first half of football by your club?
Well, we made some mistakes. They cost us. You know, they had big plays for their offense, and we really didn't have any big plays for our offense.
What's the single biggest adjustment this team has to make if it wants to win this football today?
Don't make mistakes. Just play football and don't make mistakes.
Thanks for this. Now let's go back up to Steve.
Well, that's easier said than done in the blustery conditions here at Canada Stadium in Winnipeg. And by the way, the Bombers will have the wind at their backs in what could be a very crucial fourth quarter. Westwood gets this third quarter underway, and it's a boomer into the wind. That caught the Montreal returners by surprise. Ashland Davis looking for room. He's got some. Now he's backing up. Ashland Davis brought down at the 15-yard line.
Great kick by Troy Westwood. Like you said, into the wind. The guys were 15 yards in front of that kick. So we look at the first half stats. Biggest stat for Montreal, the passing yards, 187 yards. Capped off by Marcus Brady to Kerry Watkins on a very big play. And the turnovers. There have been over 10 points on turnovers in this game. 2 by Montreal, 1 by Winnipeg.
1st and 10 for Marcus Brady and the Alouettes from their own 17. They give to Payton. And that's one of the things I liked about Brady in that opening half, using all his backs and as many receivers as he could.
And it really has set up the passing game real well. We look at Marcus Brady and the passes that he's made throughout this game. He has gone everywhere with the football. You see, he's gone with the short ball. He threw the short one to Watkins that ended up in the long one. He's thrown the long one. Des Laurier caught one deep down the field. He is doing everything right this game.
2nd and 7, Alouettes. Brady looking for Ben Cahoon, and that'll be a flag. Marlborough interfering on the intended target, Ben Cahoon.
Anthony Marlborough just gets right in front of him, face guarding, without turning to look for the ball, even though that ball was over Ben Cahoon's head. Initially, he grabs him, gets away with it, has his hands all over him, but never looks for the ball. But they may say that this ball was not catchable. That's
Jake Ireland asking the players to get out of this huddle by the officials. And I'm sure that's what they're discussing now.
Yeah, the officials are doing the right thing in discussing this play to see if there was any chance that Ben Cahoon could have got this ball. You see players on both sides trying to lobby, and
you know that never works?
No, I know. Usually just makes the referees angry.
Not once in all my years did my appeal.
We have pass interference on an uncatchable pass. It was screening and not contact, therefore it is not illegal contact. There is no infraction on the play. It's 3rd down.
Kudos to the referees for getting this call right, for going together. Again, it is a penalty. They say it is a penalty. He does face guard, but because the ball is over Ben Cahoon's head, because he had no chance to catch this ball, they wiped the penalty clean.
So all of that means that Ben Cahoon and the offense leave the field for the Alouettes, and that will bring on Damon Duval. And it looks as if the Owls are going to line up an onside man, but Duval gets a low spiral away, but the flag was out of the pocket of the official before the punt.
And it happened before the play, so I'm thinking it's on Montreal here.
Procedure, Montreal number 43, 5-yard penalty. It remains 3rd down. Timer, please hold the clock until the snap.
Jake Ireland and his crew have done a very good job in controlling things here at Canada Stadium this afternoon.
Really has. The pressure's on everybody today.
Duval this time using the wind, gets the high kick away. Stokes at the 50, at the midfield stripe, still on his feet. And Winnipeg will scrimmage 1st and 10 from around the 53, 54 when we come back, trailing by 6. Steve Armitage along with Kahari Jones and Brenda Irving. Welcome back to Canada Stadium in Winnipeg, where the Owls have a 16-10 lead in the 3rd quarter. 1st and 10 Bombers from the 55. Roberts, a rare run by Sir Charles, and no real estate to be found.
As we look at Jerome Bolden on the sidelines, he meets Jared Payton, heads up in the right in the hole, and both of them look like they pay the price, with Jerome Bolden getting up a little groggy, holding that right arm a little bit, but he is going to try to stay in the game.
We also hear that Jared Payton is playing with a wounded wing, but he will try and stay in the game if he can.
It's a nice mohawk, too. I like it.
A gain of 1, 2nd and 9 for the Bombers. Armstrong trying to get back to that ball from Kevin Glenn, but it's incomplete.
Kevin Glenn got exactly what he wanted on this play, one-on-one coverage. He's been looking at it for a while. They've been going into trips with Armstrong by himself. He looks away from Armstrong, knowing he's going to come to him, has to hesitate, so maybe that's the reason that he got that ball low, but that's still a catchable ball. Armstrong has to come up with that.
And once again, the Winnipeg offense is stalled as Troy Westwood will get the punt away from the 45 into the wind. And the crowd here at Canada Stadium, not a factor right now. Good low punt. It'll be a tricky bounce, and it goes out of play at the 11.5-yard line, where Montreal will scrimmage 1st and 10 when we come back, following a 42-yarder from Troy Westwood.
You can't just concentrate on the running back in the running game. You have to concentrate on our quarterback as well. So the defense can't rush quite as aggressively with a quarterback that if he breaks contain, he's going to make a big play and make the defense pay.
The Alouettes, Ben Cahoon, stressing the importance of a mobile quarterback, and that's what Marcus Brady has been doing, extending the pocket. As this time he holds off to Avon Coburn, and he's shut down by big Doug Brown.
Oh yeah, he fell into the great wall of Doug Brown there, sheds his tackle up front, and just lets Avon Coburn come right into his chest. As we see Doug Brown right here, one-on-one, uses those long arms and long reach to keep Lambert off of him, makes the tackle.
All 6'8", 291 pounds of Doug Brown. That time from the shotgun. Brady with time. Spots his man, and it's Ben Cahoon, but the ball is loose. They're going to rule that incomplete.
That is our bang, bang play that we've talked about all year. He makes the catch, he comes down with it, but he has to survive contact. And the referees are saying that he did not survive contact and did not come up with the ball. Again, Ben Cahoon makes the catch, no doubt about that. But Anthony Marlborough stays with the play.
And Jim Pop has challenged. He has thrown in the yellow flag. The officials have been very consistent about this on the bang bang play.
They have, and that's one of the calls that they've been making. Even though he had possession, he had his feet down, you have to survive contact. This is a rule, this is a league-wide rule. Personally, I don't like the rule. I think the rule is bad, but the refs have done an outstanding job in calling it the way it is written.
Jake Ireland now going over to Jim Pop. And Pop will do his level best to sell it to Jake Ireland.
Yeah, as coaches always do. They're trying to plead their case. But Jake Ireland is over there telling him.
Montreal has challenged the ruling of incomplete pass.
And now Jake will come over and go under the hood. And once again, we explained throughout the season, the referees had to do this all by himself. He's getting some help as he looks at this play.
Yeah, and like we've been saying, this is something that they have been very consistent in calling the correct way. And the refs did not make up this rule. The rules committee, led by all the coaches, had to agree to this rule. And the rule basically says you have to come up with the ball. Even after contact, even after your feet are down, you must come up with the ball and show that you have possession.
I've got a feeling that that rule may be reviewed in the offseason.
And I think it should be. I mean, that should be a catch. What happened, it happened after the play with Marlborough still going after the ball after the play, which he's taught to now, which he should because of the way the rules are made. But after Cahoon has possession, after he has 2 feet down, after he's down, my feeling is that the play should be down. And again, you're taking offense out of the game, and I think this is an offensive game. It should be a part of the game. Again, Marlborough did his job. He went to the play even after the play because you know that the receiver still has to come up with the ball. And that's what it also, I think it promotes play after the play should be over. It promotes the defense still going after the ball.
This could be a critical situation for the Alouettes if they allow this play to stand. Montreal, remember, started this drive at their own 11-yard line in a big hole. Damon Duval might be forced to come on and punt, and Winnipeg would have pretty good field position.
Yeah. I'd be really surprised if they let this play stand after what we've seen throughout the season.
After review, the receiver got control of the ball, went to the ground after contact, landed on his back after the contact, and then the ball was stripped out. We have a completed pass. It is Montreal, first down at the 32-yard line.
Good explanation from Jake Ireland, but I get the feeling you're not buying it.
No. They surprise us every time. And look at Barry. Barry is not buying it either. I mean, he is saying that this has been called like this all year. Why would it change now? Again, I do think it was a catch, so I have no problem with them calling this a catch. But the way the rules are made, I don't know if it exactly is.
And that's a 19-yard pickup. No wonder Doug Barry is not happy. He is incensed. He can't believe what he's just seen. 1st and 10, Montreal from the 32. Brady under pressure. Brady eludes pressure. Running for his life. Flags are thrown downfield in the secondary.
And this is what Marcus Brady gets you. Buying time for his receivers. There's a flag in the defensive backfield. Usually illegal contact at this point in time because he is able to buy time with his feet.
Illegal contact on a receiver. Winnipeg number 10, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Good call, Eagle Eyes.
Chalk this up to Marcus Brady. I mean, that's, it doesn't take a scientist to see what's going on when they call the flag back there. Usually it's because the defensive back has to cover for 5 or 6 seconds.
No, I got to give credit where credit's due on that one. Our spotter, Rob Trefo, picked that one up.
Yeah, I know. I'm taking credit for him. Look at that.
First and 10, Owls from the 42. They give to Coburn. And Coburn has a couple of yards off the right side, no more.
And this defense has to tighten up. This is the time to do it.
Let's go down to Brenda Irving with an update on the status of Jarrett Payton.
Well, Jarrett Payton is on the sidelines in his warm-up gear trying to keep warm, but I just spoke with him. He said he's not sure if he's going to get back into this game, but he wouldn't disclose the nature of his injury, but the suspicion is probably the ribs.
He had bad ribs coming into this one. Marcus Brady, for the first time in this game, using his athletic ability to run the ball himself. Tyrese Hebert was there to make the stop.
And Brady is getting up slow. That's the last thing that Montreal wants to see right now, is Brady being hurt. He's been utilizing his legs in the backfield. This is the first time going downfield.
Remember, Jason Moss is the backup to Marcus Brady.
Yeah, not the mobility that Brady has. As you see him fall down right on the right shoulder, the exact place where you don't want to see a quarterback fall down. You definitely hope he's able to come back after that, but he's holding that shoulder gingerly even while running off.
Jim Pop will have no hesitation to put Jason Moss into the game if needed. Damon Duvall with a high spiral. Stokes inside his own 15. Stokes twisting and turning and turfed out of bounds at about the 23-24 yard line. So when we come back, Kevin Glenn and the Winnipeg offense will have possession. I guarantee you one thing that Marcus Brady is not doing, ordering the pizza with anchovies. Talking to Marcel Belfay, his offensive coordinator. Don't forget Alpine Skiing Saturday, November 24th on CBC, the Pontiac Series from Panorama, and the men's downhill from Lake Louise. Your place for skiing this season, CBC. First and 10 for the Bombers from their own 23. They trail by 6. Roberts. He who hesitates is lost, and Charles was lost on that one.
Oh, yeah, and the scheme that the Bombers are using right now to try to spring Charles Roberts is not the right scheme, because they keep allowing one person to stay open on Montreal's defense and unblocked every time, and he is having trouble beating that one person.
What a great job this Montreal defensive line has done as we take a look at the passing chart for Kevin Glenn.
As we see, most everything that Kevin Glenn has done is underneath right now. We've only seen the one pass to Milt Stegall downfield. He needs to spread it out and get something going in this, and in this quadrant right here.
Timeout, Montreal.
Montreal had too many men on the field, forced to take a timeout. That could be big. It could come back to haunt them.
Definitely in a close game, you want to hold that one timeout that you get very tight to the vest, especially in the fourth quarter. You don't know what the situation is going to be, and they just lost it here because of a mix-up.
That was defensive coordinator Chris Jones looking on for the Alouettes. The Bombers are 2nd and 8 from their own 25. Glenn from the shotgun. Roberts in motion to the left side. Roberts was open, picked off. Interception, Randy Drew of the Alouettes.
Big play by Randy Drew. They play a zone coverage. They've seen this time and time again. The 6 receiver set. They know that Kevin Glenn is going to be looking for Milt Stegall. TJ Hill got a hand on the ball earlier in this game. This time Randy Drew is in the right place at the right time. He looks outside. He gives Kevin Glenn the feeling that he's going to go to the outside to the flat, but he baits Kevin Glenn into throwing that ball to Milsteagle and then comes up with it. Great job by Randy Drew. Again, Kevin Glenn trying to look off Milsteagle, but people know on second down that is his go-to receiver, and Randy Drew makes the...
Kevin Glenn obviously knows he made a mistake. What a year Randy Drew has had. That's his 5th interception to go along with a couple of sacks and 67 tackles. The Alouettes nominee for Rookie of the Year and a good, well-deserved nominee.
Yes, he is. I mean, he has been playing very good football this whole year, learning a lot on the job. When you're a rookie, especially at the halfback position, you are going to be facing the best receivers on a team week in and week out, and he has stood his ground.
Second turnover for the Bombers. It gives the Alouettes 1st and 10 from the Winnipeg 32. Both tackles are spread wide. They hit to Ashland Davis, and Davis picks up 6 or 7 yards before he's forced out of play.
This is what I'm talking about, pulling out all the stops. You have all of these plays at your disposal, and again, we keep going back to it, but Marcel Belfay is calling an outstanding game, this time moving the tackles out, getting the blocks that he needs out there. Ben Cahoon making a nice block, springing Ashland Davis as we see Ben Cahoon walling off Robert Bean and then getting the big push, looking like a lineman out there.
2nd and 4, Alouettes. Brady eludes the pressure, decides to eat it as a flag is thrown.
Yeah, that looks like the position where holding is called, especially after Brady gets loose. Again, he had enough for the first down with the run.
Offside and holding Montreal.
Yeah, Montreal just
holding. Montreal number 61. 10-yard penalty. Repeat, 2nd down.
Again,
boy, talk about shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah, this is not the position that you want to make those holding calls. When you're already in field goal range, you don't want to take points off the board, especially in a close game like this one. Looks like it's going to be throughout.
2nd and a big 14 now for the Alouettes from the 36-yard line. Brady has time. Kerry Watkins had it. Boy, they talk about the Bombers with a case of the dropsies. That was a big one there.
Oh, and I mean, Marcus Brady couldn't have went over and handed that ball to him any better than that. I mean, right in the chest, right where you want the ball. It looks like his hands got a little crossed up on that play, but those are the plays you got to come up with. Marcus Brady, again, I can't say enough about how he was playing this game. Kerry Watkins needs to keep that drive going.
A 43-yard field goal attempt for Damon Duval. Good on 32 of 45 over the course of the regular season. His longest, 51 yards, so he's well within his range. He's got the wind at his back. And it's a good one. So the Montreal Alouettes, with a 43-yard field goal from Damon Duval, increase their lead on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to 19-10. All smiles for the Montreal Alouettes and Marcus Brady, who have done a good job so far.
Later. The prestidigitizer. We need you to get all kinds of shipments to all kinds of places.
Purelator's size lets you customize so people can get prestidigitized.
Customize.
Let's get started.
When you ship with Purelator, out of the ordinary is never out of the question. Purelator, where business is going.
Welcome back to Canada Stadium. The Bombers have possession, 1st and 10 from their own 35. Play action. Glenn going long. Flag is down, and that could be interference against Estelle.
Yeah, it looks like it is interference against Mark Estelle. Winnipeg got what they wanted on this play, one-on-one coverage. I like the fact that they put Glenn under center to make everything seem like it was going to be a run. Use play action off of that, and then put the ball up. When you put the ball...
Pass interference. Montreal number 31. Automatic. First down.
When you put the ball up downfield, there are only a few things that can happen, especially in one-on-one coverage. You complete it, you incomplete it, or you get pass interference most of the time. Very rarely is there an interception. They go for the big play and get it.
A 35-yard pickup thanks to the flag. Bombers 1st and 10 from the Alouettes 40. Charles Roberts. And again, no room. Bowman is there to make the grab, but a flag is down.
I don't know if he had a hold of his face mask or maybe the horse collar.
Doesn't look like Bowman's too happy about it.
Again, I feel like the referees are doing a good job of discussing these things, making sure they get the call correct.
Major foul, face mask, Montreal number 48, 15-yard penalty, first down.
As we look here, yeah, he did get the face mask. Great call by the referees. Didn't have it for a long time, but the referees right in there saw the play.
We're seeing a little lack of discipline on the part of the Alouettes.
Yep, as we see him throw his helmet in disgust on the sideline. He got caught. You got to pay the price.
1st and 10, Blue Bombers from the Alouettes 21. Glenn from the shotgun. Shovel pass, and R.J. Franklin pulls it in but goes nowhere. Good coverage on the part of the Owls defense.
Oh yeah, you got to credit Kashima. He's been playing well all game by staying at home, doing his assignment, play in and play out. He stopped Charles Roberts on a few plays. This one, you see him play Kevin Glenn outside and then come inside and make the nice tackle.
A pickup of a few yards, a big 2nd down for the Bombers. Armstrong alone on the weak side, left side, but he gets to Roberts. Roberts has got room. Roberts turns the corner. Touchdown, Charles Roberts. Go away, folks. The Bombers are back in this one.
And a fantastic job by the Blue Bombers of going against what they've normally done. 2nd and 8, the Montreal Alouettes are thinking pass, 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 but they give it to Charles Roberts. This time he does not have 8 people in front of the line, allows him to get out into the open and do what Charles Roberts does best.
First 10 carries, Sir Charles had 31 yards. That last carry went 18 into pay dirt. And Troy Westwood will attempt the point after. It's good. So we've got a 2-point ball game. The Alouettes 19, the Blue Bombers 17.
And I love this call. I mean, this is the first time that Charles Roberts has run the ball on 2nd down beyond the odd 2nd and 2, 2nd and 1. But they give it to him 2nd and 8. As you look, there's only 1, 2, 3 guys over here. They get a hat on the offensive line. You see Matt Sheridan working hard, making sure to push his man downfield, giving Charles Roberts the edge, and then he does the rest once he gets outside into the open.
This telecast is copyrighted by the CFL and licensed exclusively to CBC, and any other use of this telecast or of any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game is prohibited.
They call him blink. And you just saw why. The Alouettes blinked, and he was into the end zone.
They went against type. I love the call. 2nd and 8. No one was expecting it. Charles Roberts makes it happen.
Westwood kicking into the wind. Last time he kicked off, it was a boomer. This time he squibs it low, and it gets by Livingston. Livingston at the 15, looking for a lane. Goes up the middle, comes up shy of the 25-yard line.
What has been a problem for this team, special teams, throughout the year, is now turning into an advantage. As you see, Troy Westwood, it seems like he has that ball on the string right now. He's placing it wherever he needs to place it, and they're ending up with good field position because of it.
This Tuesday at 9, critics are calling it the best new series since The Sopranos. That's saying something. It's an all-new episode of The Tudors. Catch all the treachery and passion in the court of young King Henry VIII. Watch The Tudors, Tuesday at 9 on CBC. 1st and 10 for the Owls from the 25-yard line. Brady out of the shotgun. They give to Avon Coburn. And Coburn brought down by Tom Canada, who was sorely missed by that Bomber defense last week in the game against the Owls.
Yes, he is. Yes, he was. And now it's time for this defensive line to really shine in this game. They've been putting pressure on Brady. They've been stopping the run, but they need to do a little bit more than that right now and stop Brady, especially on 2nd down, and make some tackles instead of just the pressure.
A 2nd and 6 situation for Marcus Brady and the Alouettes. The ball spotted just shy of the 30-yard line. The crowd back in it. Cahoon, and he has it jolted free. That time, no control shown by Ben Cahoon.
Oh, and what a hit. No, there was no control there because Kyrese Hebert took the control right out of his hands. That was a fantastic hit. As you see, Ben Cahoon, we're so used to him making these catches and coming up, but Kyrese Hebert says he is having none of that and comes full speed. Dislodges the ball right from Cahoon's hands.
Timed it perfectly. Duval with the wind at his back. Stokes dancing around at the 40, looking for room. 45. Tried to get up to the 50-yard line, but that will give Kevin Glenn and the Bombers excellent field position to kill off the final 4 minutes in this half into the wind.
Oh, yeah, we have seen the momentum change in this football game. All it took was one Charles Roberts run. You see the defense is hyped up now. Because of that, they come up with the big hit. Get a nice return, good field position.
Just under 4 minutes to play, 3rd quarter. 1st and 10, Bombers from the 48. Play action buys Kevin Glenn some time. He finds a man, Jamie Stoddard.
Winnipeg Blue Bombers have flipped the script on this game right now. They've gone on 1st down. This is the 2nd time now that they've put Kevin Glenn under center to give the Montreal Alouettes a different look. Again, play action on this one. This time he rolls out the opposite way, finds Jamie Stoddard wide open on the sideline.
The Bombers are awake and marching. 1st and 10 from the Owls 50. Roberts crashes into the line, picks up 3 or 4. I like the mix offensively for the Bombers this half.
Exactly. I think they're using more of a mix. They've really come in the 2nd half and doing some different things now. In the running game, they're putting a hat on a hat. They're not leaving that one free guy because he was the one making the tackle. You see on this play, everybody is getting on the line, is getting on a defensive lineman, and 4 yards come out of it.
24 passes, 13 rushing plays from the shotgun. Kevin Glenn has that blocked.
And I think that might have been a good thing that that was blocked because Davis Sanchez had a read on this play. They've tried it a few times already with Jamie Stoddard coming inside and Davis Sanchez. He's a smart defensive back. As you see Jamie Stoddard coming in, And David Sanchez was right there, but Kashama gets his hands up and gets the nice block.
That's what they teach all the D linemen when you're going in like that. Get those arms up.
Exactly.
Classic example of it working for Kashama that time. And that will bring on Troy Westwood. Punting into the wind. Montreal receivers standing at their own 10. Montreal up by a couple. 2:40 to play, third quarter. At stake, a trip to Rogers Center in Toronto. We've got a Bomber who lined up onside but started before the kick. It bounces around at the 5, picked up by the Owls, and they'll be in a deep hole. They'll be at about the 7 or 8 yard line when they take over possession of the ball. Good kick from Troy Westwood.
Oh, that looked like a beautiful sandwich, didn't it? It just hit and then rolled backwards a little bit.
I can never get my wedges to do that.
No,
Back
no,
up like that.
No, me neither. I have to talk to Creepo about that.
So this will be a test for Marcus Brady and the Alouettes. First and 10, deep in their own zone. Brady has time, and he has a man open. Watkins still on his feet. What a strike. He's still going. Watkins finally wrestled down at about the 42 or 43 yard line.
Fantastic play. Great ball placement by Brady. I mean, I sound like a broken record here. I mean, Brady is just locating the ball time and time again. This time Watkins comes up with it. They run a short post on the weak side. Kerry Watkins has Robert Bean beat only by a step, but Brady puts it right on him, allows him to catch it and run up the field, get 15 more yards.
A gain of 33 for the Alouettes. They've now got much better field position. First and 10 from the 42. Shovel pass to Coburn. Coburn's got some space, and Coburn tripped up by Garize Bear just outside the 50-yard line.
Again, Montreal Alouettes are going back to mixing it up. Drop back, they use play action. This time play action with the shovel. Keeping those defensive ends off balance. They don't know whether they should go to Brady or stay at home because Brady can move so well. Beautiful game plan today.
An 18-yard pickup. It is first and 10, Montreal. Just shy of the Bombers' 50. Coburn, and he's got room. Coburn tripped up about a yard or two shy of that first down.
And you can tell Winnipeg is reeling right now on defense. They don't know which way is up. You see a run this time, you see a play action. Again, these linemen, Dave Mudge makes a nice block on the outside on Gavin Walls, but Gavin Walls, to his credit, comes back around and gets a shoestring, doesn't quit on the play, stops it from being a bigger play than it is.
There's Greg Marshall, the Bombers defensive coordinator. What's going through his mind? This should be the last play for the Owls with the win. And they give to Kerry Carter, and Carter will have the first down. So when we come back to begin this fourth quarter, the Alouettes will have the ball, but playing into the wind.
Let's go get it, baby. Ha, ha.
Welcome back to Canada Stadium in Winnipeg, where we're about to get this fourth quarter, and it will be the crucial fourth quarter with the Alouettes leading by 2 points, and the Alouettes have possession of the ball. First and 10 from the Winnipeg 37. Interesting passing numbers in that third quarter. Montreal was 76 yards passing. Winnipeg with only 15. Brady gives to Carter. Carter looking for running room inside.
Carter with the ball. As we look at the third quarter, like you said, Montreal definitely had the advantage passing the ball, but they got a big, Winnipeg got a big help with that 35-yarder to Armstrong, the pass interference call on that. But again, you got to go back to Brady. I mean, he's playing great. 263 yards in 3 quarters. Turnovers are even right now. This is such an even game, 2-point difference. Hold on, folks. You got a good ride coming.
2nd and 7 for Montreal from the Winnipeg 34. Brady has time, and he finds Watkins complete. Watkins pushed out of bounds at about the 16, 17-yard line.
Brady, what can you say? I mean, this guy is putting the ball on the money. Again, he has a little contact, Kerry Watkins does with Bean, enough to get him that separation away from Bean, and again, Brady puts it where it has to be. If that ball is 2 feet inside, then Bean is going the other way for a touchdown.
The way he's throwing and passing and the way Kerry Watkins is receiving, it reminds me of a young Anthony Calvillo. Good decisions, excellent execution. 1st and 10 for Montreal from the 15. Coburn brought down as he gets to the line of scrimmage.
That's a nice job by Robert Bean to step up and help the defensive line on this play to make the tackle. Like you said, Anthony Calvillo, we go back to him and Ben Cahoon in those days that they have had over the years. And again, it does look that same way as we see Avon Coburn come up, try to make something out of nothing on this play, and expect to see Brady again look for his favorite target on this play.
2nd and 8, Montreal from the Winnipeg 13. Brady with time. Over the middle, in and out of the arms of Elijah Thurman.
Elijah Thurman, I know he hasn't seen a lot of balls today, but you have to come up with those balls, especially when you're down this close to the end zone. Who knows if he catches that and then is able to come up a few yards and keep this drive alive. But again, Brady was looking for Kerry Watkins on this play, but he was just covered up very well by Robert Bean that time. You have to give Robert Bean kudos where kudos are deserved, and he made.
I think that's the 2nd drop for Thurman.
It is. Thurman is doesn't have his head all the way in this game.
So it's a 20-yard field goal attempt for Damon Duval. Into the wind. A good, solid kick from Damon Duval, and Montreal now lead the Bombers 22-17. The CFL's Eastern semifinal underway here in Winnipeg. Still to come, the Western semifinal. Playoff football is back in Regina, Saskatchewan, where Henry Burris and the Stampeders will try to ruin the show for Kerry Joseph and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Will be joining that game as soon as our game here in Winnipeg is complete. Montreal leading 22-17, and the Alouettes are about to kick off to the Bombers. The Bombers will have the win. Will it make that much of a difference? We're about to find out. Low kick. Covered by the Bombers, not taking any chances. No scrimmage, 1st and 10. Thank you very much from the 35.
Oh yeah, and these kickers again, both kickers. It looks like they know where they want to place the ball. This was a good decision by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to kick this ball off, but they get the ball in exactly the same position as if they took the touchback. So advantage Montreal for this play.
Just because you're not on the panel this week, I'm not going to let you off the hook. Who you picking? Calgary, Saskatchewan.
Oh, that's great.
I'll get the answer in a minute.
Game right now.
I'll get the answer in a minute. Double tight for the Blue Bombers. Little play action. Buys some time for Kevin Glenn. Not a great throw. He may have slipped on that one. He was looking for Milt Stegall.
Yeah, and he did slip. He just tried to put a little extra on that ball, and his left foot came from under him. That ball was going to have to be placed in there because Milt Stegall had someone in front of him and behind him. I think Kevin Glenn saw that and just tried to put a little too much pepper on that ball.
So who you picking?
I knew you'd go back. You know what? With the Rough Riders at home for the first time, I'd have to give them the slight edge, but only slight. And that's only if Henry Burris doesn't play to his full capacity.
2nd and 10 Bombers. Kevin Glenn dumps it off to Roberts. Roberts trying to take it outside. Comes up shy of the first down by a yard or two.
Yeah, and again, Montreal, great job letting everything happen underneath them. As you see Kevin Glenn hobbling off the field, something that the Bombers definitely don't want to see at this time. See, he's got both of the knee braces on. You don't know if it's knee or ankle.
Ryan Dinwiddie is the backup for the Bombers. Who would hate to see Kevin Glenn go down at any time?
No. We see him drop back, and Green just steps on his foot. You just hope that it's not an ankle injury and just a pain in the foot.
A booming punt from Troy Westwood, and Bashir is forced out of bounds at the 16-yard line, a 51-yarder.
Welcome back to Winnipeg, where Montreal leads Winnipeg by a score of 22-17. And I was speaking with Winnipeg kicker Troy Westwood about the last game of the regular season. He says as soon as that was over, he threw it in the garbage and started to think about the success he's had in the playoffs. And he has the best kicking percentage of any kicker in CFL history in the playoffs. Then I asked him about his future with this team. He said he will not leave voluntarily. He has a lot of fight left in him, and he is hoping that this game comes down to a last-second field goal. And it just may, Steve.
This is a huge defensive series for the Bombers if they can keep the Owls in their own zone and force them to kick into the wind.
They did the right thing on that first play. They got pressure on Brady. Brady was able to get away from it, but Tom Canada kept the pressure on him and forced Brady into throwing an ill-advised throw, which was almost intercepted. Brady has been making great decisions so far. He has to guard himself against making decisions like this. And you see Cam Hall come back, make a fantastic play from the linebacker position.
2nd and 10, Montreal from their own 16-yard line. We've got debris on the field. We've got cheerleaders' pom-poms. We've got programs. We've got those noisemakers. It's a garbage dump out there.
Yeah, it's like the Wizard of Oz here, you know? Not in Kansas anymore.
It hasn't been a steady wind, but every once in a while it just gusts. And that causes, they've taken all the signage on the far side of the field down. The flag not reflecting how that wind is gusting. 2nd and 10, Owls. Brady. And it's picked off. Jerron Bolden. Big turnover. Bolden, right place, right time.
Oh, my goodness. Jerron Bolden. This is why they signed Jerron Bolden in the middle of the season for plays like this. Jerron Bolden comes up big when he needs to. Again, Brady trying to throw this ball against the wind. He puts everything he has on it, but Jerron Bolden reads his eyes, comes underneath, makes a fantastic catch on the sidelines, and to keep the ball, cradle it, and stay in bounds. Outstanding play by Jerron Bolden.
He laid himself out much like a receiver would. Now the Bombers 1st and 10. They give to Roberts. No running room on that left side.
We see Eric Wilson come in there trying to stop the momentum flow from Jerron Bolden. And again, this is when you need the offense to feed off of that momentum. Take a chance downfield. They're so close. They're with the wind. Utilize one of these big receivers that you have on the field and give them a chance to go up for it in the end zone.
Only picked up a couple. Second down for the Bombers from the 25. Montreal lead it by 5. Armstrong all alone on the weak side. Glenn looks that way, forced to roll out right, passes in and out of the arms of Terrence Edwards.
And again, all they do is go back into a zone. Montreal does. He looks for Armstrong initially, but the safety gives them a little help. They go into a too deep zone coverage, try to keep everything in front of them, and they can't make the play with Terrence Edwards on the sideline.
Well, this won't win the game for the Bombers, but this is the kind of thing that Westwood was talking to Brenda about, being a key player in this game, and he's already been that with his punting. Now he's going to try and put it through from 32 yards out. It's a good one for Troy Westwood, and Winnipeg now down by 2. Great finish shaping up here in Winnipeg. The Alouettes lead by 2. Wearing the Mike Force this afternoon, Baron Simpson.
Mic'd Up, brought to you by Rogers, Canada's most reliable wireless network.
Stick. Good stick, baby. Good stick. That is my job right there.
Always a competitor, Baron Simpson. Coburn with the carry that time for the Alouettes. Brown in to make the stop.
Definitely. Montreal has been good at responding to adversity all game long. This is going to be a big test for Montreal with all the momentum in Winnipeg's favor, with the crowd now into the game. They're going to need to get a couple of first downs to, especially against the wind.
That could be the key. Montreal into the wind. 2nd and 9 from the 36. Brady looking long for Watkins. Watkins claiming perhaps he might have been held up. No flag.
No. And I think that was a great no call by the referees. Robert Bean just had Kerry Watkins blanketed on this play. I like the idea, just going downfield in one-on-one coverage. Didn't work out for Montreal this time.
So the Bombers defense have done what they needed to do. They're forcing the Alouettes to kick into the wind. Stokes inside his own 40, getting set to receive. What a job Simpson and that defense have done. High punt. Not necessarily what you want into that wind. Stokes hesitates, coming the other side, running deep into his own zone. Can he find the hole? Tripped up at the 35-yard line. 1st and 10, Bombers from their own 35-yard line. Roberts, he's got room. Roberts crosses the 50-yard line. The ball came loose. Alouettes indicating they have possession. But I think he was down. They're going to rule that Winnipeg retained possession.
Yeah, and Charles Roberts gets loose in the front. He's been having a very nice second half, and that just continues it. Finding those holes and then accelerating as soon as he gets out. Again, man on man, the offensive line does a great job.
Remember, we talked about the Alouettes using that timeout? Couldn't use a challenge.
No challenge.
1st and 10 for the Bombers from the 51, following that 16-yard gain from Charles Roberts. Roberts again. And Roberts coming up shy of the midfield stripe. Kai Ellis there to make the stop.
This time Kai Ellis gets involved early. They have good blocks on this, and I see what Charles Roberts sees it initially. He sees a hole open, but Kai Ellis closes it up quickly. See it. Gauthier has his block, but Ellis finds his way in there, makes a big stop.
So it's 2nd and 7 for the Bombers. The ball is spotted just shy of the midfield stripe. Glenn out of the shotgun. Complete to Milt Stegall. Stegall turns and falls just shy of the Montreal 40.
Fantastic pass by Kevin Glenn on this play. I was watching Milt the whole play. It looked like a choice route for Milt Stegall, where he goes in, and as we see Milt go in motion, they find out it's man-to-man from the motion, and then Milt Stegall looks like he's going in, takes an outside release. Kevin Glenn puts it right on the money.
Talk about a clutch receiver in this situation for the Bombers. You look downfield, and there is number 85.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
15-yard pickup, 1st and 10 Bombers from the 41. Play action. Kevin Glenn, incomplete. Leslie was the intended target that time. That's a rare sight. Leslie going that deep for a pass.
Leslie running the corner route. I'm sure he wasn't used to that either. We're getting out in all that space. Usually you don't see a fullback going downfield that often. But they're pulling out all the stops. I mean, this is win or go home. And you can tell both teams are doing whatever they have to do to get the ball downfield.
That last catch for Stegall was his first in this second half. 2nd and 10 Bombers from the 41. They trail by 2. 4 receivers closest to us. Kevin Glenn just keeps it himself. He may have the first down. Good call.
That is what I like to see. Kevin Glenn, who's only averaging about 7 yards a game this year, not running the ball all that much, decides to take off on an option play. You see the option, everybody goes out to the running back on this play, leaving Kevin Glenn all alone. And why would you go with Kevin Glenn? Like I said, he hasn't run the ball this year, but this is the playoffs, and he decides to go for it himself, gets the push that he needs to at least have them measure for the first down.
Well, they haven't got it. About a yard short. Into the game comes Troy Westwood. He talked about the dream of putting it through the uprights with the game-winning field goal. Is this it?
It could be, especially how both defenses are playing right now. With the win, I think this is a good call. You want to get the lead right now. And Winnipeg Blue Bombers are going for the lead, putting the pressure on Montreal if they do get it.
We'll call this one from the 38-yard line. Troy Westwood to put the Bombers in front by 1. It's wide. It is wide. And the Alouettes are going to run it out. Bashir Livingston dropped at the 25-yard line. Flags are thrown.
Big miss at this point in time. Troy Westwood, as we said, having a dream game, but dream might have turned into a nightmare on that kick. As we see, the snap was a little low, but Jamie Stoddard does get it down. Looks like it's going, but never on line.
Oh boy, he's seen that movie a couple of times this year, and he doesn't like the look of that one.
48. That penalty is half the distance to the goal.
But the Alouettes are being driven well back into their own zone on that flag. So Marcus Brady and the Owls offense will start 1st and 10 from their own 7. Owls lead by 2, 22-20. Under 5 minutes to play. At stake, a trip to the Eastern Final at the Rogers Center in Toronto against the Argos. Play fake. Brady all by himself, and he could have the first down.
This is where the running ability of Brady comes into play, especially against the wind. When you have a guy like that who can fake out a top candidate and get a first down, fantastic play.
Just a reminder, Warrior of the Game, we want you to log on to CBC Sports for the player you think showed the heart and determination. Could it be that man, Marcus Brady? Warrior will show you the winner in our post-game show. Warrior of the game brought to you by the all-new 2007 GMC Sierra Professional Grade. What a great ball game this has been.
Please reset the game clock to 4:26.
It's had a little bit of everything, including resetting the clock.
Oh, yeah. And this is a drive that really could define Marcus Brady as a quarterback. I mean, making a big drive, running some time off the clock against the wind in enemy territory in the Winnipeg Blue Bombers field.
Brady with time, just jumps it off to Coburn. Coburn has room, and Coburn picks up another first down.
And not only defining Brady, like we said, but Marcel Belfay, who, again, has been calling an outstanding game. He is keeping this team off balance. Winnipeg's defense has not known what is going to happen on the offensive side of the ball. And again, going with the screen, Avon Coburn comes up big with another first down.
Marcel Belfay, much maligned throughout much of the season. A 17-yard pickup for the Owls. Go nowhere that time on 1st and 10.
And it looked like Brady wanted to pull that ball out. As we see, the handoff, but Brady has the option on whether to keep that ball or to pull it out. And Brady was trying to pull that ball out, but Avon Coburn just took it from his hands. They were lucky that that was not a fumble on that play. Brady reads the end, decides to take it or not. Avon Coburn just grabbed hold of it too soon.
This is what the Bombers want to do, put the Owls in long second down situation. It's 2nd and 9, Montreal from the 38. Brady airs it out. Watkins couldn't get to it. Made the turn towards the ball, but maybe the wind took that one.
Oh, definitely. The wind took that. As you can tell, you can see Kerry Watkins going for it. We see Kerry Watkins go up. He has a read on this ball. Then it just goes the other way. They got to punt the ball.
Wednesdays on CBC. All your favorite characters are back for a brand new episode of. Then from the host of The Amazing Race, a new series where contestants take on the challenge of a lifetime. No opportunity wasted. Wednesday on CBC. 3rd and 9. Duval shanks one. It goes off the side of his foot, taken by Stokes. And Stokes forced out of play just shy of the 50-yard line. Not the best of times to come up with a shank.
No, you didn't want to do that, and great job by Stokes to come up and get that 23-yard punt. You catch it in the air, especially in this wind. You get a little worried about that sometimes, but Stokes came up and made a nice catch.
2:43 showing on the scoreboard clock. Winnipeg trail by a couple. 1st and 10 from the 49. Glenn from the shotgun, hands off to Roberts. And again, not a lot of running room for Roberts as he crosses the 50, gets up to the 51.
No, great job of predicting by the Montreal defense. It looked like they red run all the way on this play.
Randy Drew had that big interception for the Alouettes, clutching his right leg. Hey, let's take another look at Kahari's game notes, see how close you were.
All right. Check it out. On offense, the Brady bunch. I mean, this has been the Brady bunch. It's been all about Brady. Almost 300 yards passing, TD with the one lone interception by Jerron Bolden. Very good game. And Blanket Blink, they've done a decent job of stopping Charles Roberts, but he has run off some good runs, especially in the second half, 78 rushing yards. And on offense, the Beagle has landed. Bill Stiegel, he was the touchdown Beagle in the first half on the first drive, but we haven't seen a lot of him since that time. And on defense, what can Brown do for blue? Big goal line stance is what Brown can do. Stopping it. Montreal at the 1-yard line, helping this team to keep this game close.
Randy Drew, the injured Alouette, in obvious pain on the field turf here at Canadian Stadium. Kobe Reinhardt will come in to replace Randy Drew. 2:40 to play. Montreal up by a couple, 22-20. Will it once again come down to that man, Troy Westwood, with a chance to win it for the Blue Bombers?
And I know that's all Troy is wishing right now, is to get one more chance to get out onto that field. Again, like we said, he's had a fantastic game in both the punting game with and against the wind, and kicking field goals up to that point. He was 14 for 14 in the playoffs before he missed that last kick.
Don't forget, stay tuned for the Western semifinal for the first time since 1988. There's playoff football at Mosaic Stadium at Taylor Field. The hometown Riders entertaining Henry Burris and the Calgary Stampeders. Winner of that game going on to the Western final against the BC Lions next week at BC Place Stadium. Troy Westwood missed his last field goal attempt, staying warm.
Again, only thing he's thinking about, I'm sure, is that last one, trying to erase that last kick out of his mind, and hoping for the chance to get back out on the field with the game on the line.
Pascal Masson in for Montreal, so they're going with that extra DB. It is 2nd and 8 Bombers. The ball at the 51. Well, he was looking for Stiegel. Stiegel went one way, and the ball went the other.
Yeah, and that was going to be a tough play no matter how you slice it with Khalid Abdullah. Montreal only rushed 3 guys, so that meant they had 9 people in coverage on this play. As you see Khalid Abdullah come out in the backfield, if he would have thrown it where Milt Stiegel was in that play, then Khalid Abdullah would have got his hands on this ball. And again, he tried to stop Milt Stiegel up with the throw, but Milt was already moving inside.
Bombers with no choice but to punt. The Bombers are now a man short. Were until RJ came running in there just before the gates closed. 3rd and 8, Westwood into punt.
And go!
Angles it. And the wind blew it right back in. I thought it was going out of play. I honestly did. And the wind just blew that back into play. Not what the Bombers wanted in that situation.
No, definitely not. Like you said, it looked like that ball was going out of bounds. And even Troy thought it was going out of bounds, and then the wind played the tricks that the wind does and brings that ball right back. But it only puts the Bombers down by 1. It gives Montreal good field position. But now they know that with the win, a punt or a missed field goal will tie this game.
It was, if it means anything, a 74-yard punt, but not what they wanted.
No.
Because the Alouettes, with 2:08 to play in the 4th quarter and a 2-point lead, are 1st and 10 from the 35. They get to Coburn. Coburn was stopped at the line of scrimmage, did the rest himself, and picked up 6 or 7 yards on the play.
Great second effort by Avon Coburn. He hits the line first. All the linemen keep their blocks. They don't let any of the guys free. And that allows Avon to get to the outside and pick up a nice gain on that play.
Can't say enough about the work that this Montreal offensive line has done, anchored by Brian Chu with Luke Fritz at left tackle, playing for the injured Seward. 2nd and 4 now for the Owls from the 41. Coburn again. And Coburn fighting to get to the 1st down marker. and he's going to come up short, but not by much.
No.
Now, what do you do?
This is a decision. With 1:39 on the clock, I think they are going to go for this. But Avon Coburn keeps his feet moving, plays like a big man. He's not a big running back in stature, but keeps those legs moving. They asked for a measurement just to know exactly how much, but we know the ball started on the 35-yard line, so they need to get to the 45.
Tense moments for Doug Berry and the Bombers as they await the measurement. Remember, at one point in the East, it looked as if the Bombers were going to run away with the title, finish in first place, but they wound up second behind the Argos, thanks to a couple of late season losses to Toronto, and that's the reason why Winnipeg are fighting for their playoff lives right now.
And you have to wonder if the goal line stands early in this game will come back to haunt Montreal on this play. We know that Winnipeg has already had success against them in short yardage situations, and this is not an inch or 2 inches. This is a good 2 feet or to almost a full yard, so they need to get a push on that offensive line.
Let's listen to the crowd encourage this Winnipeg defense. 3rd and less than 1 for the Owls. Montreal lead by 2, 22. Make that 1, 22-21. Brady keeps it. It's going to be close. No. The Bombers may have done it again. 3rd and 9. Duval shanks one. It goes off the side of his foot, taken by Stokes, and Stokes forced out of play just shy at the 50-yard line. Not the best of times to come up with a shank.
No, you didn't want to do that, and great job by Stokes to come up and get that 23-yard punt. Catch it in the air, especially in this wind. You get a little worried about that sometimes, but Stokes came up and made a nice catch.
2:43 showing on the scoreboard clock. Winnipeg trail by a couple. 1st and 10 from the 49. Glenn from the shotgun, hands off to Roberts. And again, not a lot of running room for Roberts as he crosses the 50, gets up to the 51.
No, great job of predicting by the Montreal defense. It looked like they red run all the way on this play.
Randy Drew had that big interception for the Alouettes, clutching his right leg. Hey, let's take another look at Kahari's game notes, see how close you were.
All right. Check it out. On offense, the Brady bunch. I mean, this has been the Brady bunch. It's been all about Brady. Almost 300 yards passing, TD with the 1 lone interception by Jerron Bolden. Very good game. And Blanket Blink, they've done a decent job of stopping Charles Roberts, but he has run off some good runs, especially in the second half, 78 rushing yards. And on offense, the Beagle has landed. Bill Stiegel, he was the touchdown Beagle in the first half on the first drive, but we haven't seen a lot of him since that time. And on defense, what can Brown do for Blue? Big goal line stance is what Brown can do. Stopping it. Montreal at the 1-yard line, helping this team to keep this game close.
Randy Drew, the injured Alouette, in obvious pain on the field turf here at Canadian Stadium. Kobe Reinhardt will come in to replace Randy Drew. 2:40 to play. Montreal up by a couple, 22-20. Will it once again come down to that man, Troy Westwood, with a chance to win it for the Blue Bombers?
And I know that's all Troy is wishing right now, is to get one more chance to get out onto that field. Again, like we said, he's had a fantastic game in both the punting game with and against the wind and kicking field goals up to that point. He was 14 for 14 in the playoffs before he missed that last kick.
Don't forget, stay tuned for the Western semifinal for the first time since 1988. There's playoff football at Mosaic Stadium at Taylor Field. The hometown Riders entertaining Henry Burris and the Calgary Stampeders. Winner of that game going on to the Western final against the BC Lions next week at BC Place Stadium. Troy Westwood missed his last field goal attempt, staying warm.
Again, only thing he's thinking about, I'm sure, is that last one, trying to erase that last kick out of his mind, and hoping for the chance to get back out on the field with the game on the line.
Pascal Masson in for Montreal, so they're going with that extra DB. It is 2nd and 8 Bombers. The ball at the 51. Well, he was looking for Stiegel. Stiegel went one way, and the ball went the other.
Yeah, and that was going to be a tough play no matter how you slice it with Khalid Abdullah. Montreal only rushed 3 guys, so that meant they had 9 people in coverage on this play. As you see Khalid Abdullah come out in the backfield, if he would have thrown it where Milt Stiegel was in that play, then Khalid Abdullah would have got his hands on this ball. And again, he tried to stop Milt Stiegel up with the throw, but Milt was already moving inside.
Bombers with no choice but to punt. The Bombers are now a man short. Were until RJ came running in there just before the gates closed. 3rd and 8, Westwood into punt.
And go!
Angles it. And the wind blew it right back in. I thought it was going out of play. I honestly did. And the wind just blew that back into play. Not what the Bombers wanted in that situation.
No, definitely not. Like you said, it looked like that ball was going out of bounds. And even Troy thought it was going out of bounds, and then the wind played the tricks that the wind does and brings that ball right back. But it only puts the Bombers down by 1. It gives Montreal good field position. But now they know that with the win, a punt or a missed field goal will tie this game.
It was, if it means anything, a 74-yard punt, but not what they wanted.
No.
Because the Alouettes, with 2:08 to play in the 4th quarter and a 2-point lead, are 1st and 10 from the 35. They get to Coburn. Coburn was stopped at the line of scrimmage, did the rest himself, and picked up 6 or 7 yards on the play.
Great second effort by Avon Coburn. He hits the line first. All the linemen keep their blocks. They don't let any of the guys free. And that allows Avon to get to the outside and pick up a nice gain on that play.
Can't say enough about the work that this Montreal offensive line has done, anchored by Brian Chu with Luke Fritz at left tackle, playing for the injured Seward. 2nd and 4 now for the Owls from the 41. Coburn again. And Coburn fighting to get to the first down marker. And he's going to come up short, but not by much. No. Now, what do you do?
This is a decision. With 1:39 on the clock, I think they are going to go for this. But Avon Coburn keeps his feet moving, plays like a big man. He's not a big running back in stature, but keeps those legs moving. They asked for a measurement just to know exactly how much. But we know the ball started on the 35-yard line, so they need to get to the 45.
Tense moments for Doug Berry and the Bombers as they await the measurement. Remember, at one point in the East, it looked as if the Bombers were going to run away with the title, finish in first place. but they wound up second behind the Argos, thanks to a couple of late season losses to Toronto, and that's the reason why Winnipeg are fighting for their playoff lives right now.
And you have to wonder if the goal line stands early in this game will come back to haunt Montreal on this play. We know that Winnipeg has already had success against them in short yardage situations, and this is not an inch or 2 inches. This is a good 2 feet or to almost a full yard, so they need to get a push on that offensive line.
Let's listen to the crowd encourage this Winnipeg defense. 3rd and less than 1 for the Owls. Montreal lead by 2, 22. Make that 1, 22 to 21. Brady keeps it. It's going to be close.
No.
The Bombers may have done it again.
He did not get that. The Blue Bombers come up big again. We're going to have to look at the spot, but looking at that referee come inside, it did not look like he was making the spot on the line.
This could be the biggest spot of the season for the Alouettes. Where do they place it? The Bombers are saying they have it.
Wow. What a push up front. Again, Barron Simpson leading the charge over the top. Stops Marcus Brady's momentum.
The crowd just told you the Alouettes are short. The Bombers take over on downs. 4th turnover, 1:35 to play. Montreal up by a single point.
Talk about a game of inches. If Montreal does not go to win this game, they're going to look at 2 plays in this game that decided it for them. The goal line stands, and now the stop on 3rd and goal.
They are going to review this one from the booth. What a big review this is going to be.
This is.
You be the judge.
A full yard. You see the guys up front getting low. Barron Simpson coming over the top. And I don't know how you can say he got to that line. If you look at that, the line is right here, and I don't think Brady got anywhere near that line.
This play is being reviewed, not because of a challenge. It's being reviewed by the league.
Yeah, and then the last 3 minutes of the game, the league decides what is challenge and what's not.
Here's Jake Ireland.
Based on the replays available to me, there is no evidence to overrule the spot on the field. First down, Winnipeg.
Jake Ireland drowned out by the fans here at Canada Stadium because that gives the ball to the Bombers with 1:35 to play and trailing by a point. New life for Winnipeg. Kevin Glenn from the shotgun. Roberts got room. Roberts dragged down just shy of the 30.
Charles Roberts coming up big when they need him most. Makes a nice move on Kashima at the beginning of this play. We see Kashima one-on-one with Charles Roberts. He makes a miss right here and then almost breaks it for a touchdown. Montreal has to take chances at this point in the game, but Charles Roberts can make you pay.
68 yards this half for Charles Roberts. Roberts again, looking for room outside, turned the corner and got down to the 25. Diamond Ferry was there to make the stop.
Kashima is going to have nightmares about Charles Roberts tomorrow. I mean, this time again, one-on-one with Kashima on the outside. Instead of going inside, he goes outside and gains 6 yards.
69 seconds to play in what has been a nail-biter here at Canada Stadium in Winnipeg. Bombers trailing by a point. Second and 4 from the 25. Roberts again. They've got the first down.
Charles Roberts doing his thing. They got it in range now. All they're looking for is to get it right where Troy Westwood wants this ball in order to make the kick at the end of the game.
The Owls can just sit and watch. They no longer control their destiny. First and 10, Winnipeg from the 18. Roberts running it into the middle, still fighting for every inch, every centimeter he can come up with.
Now it's just about the decision on the sideline. Do you want to kick it now so that if something happens with the snap, that you're okay and you still have that extra down? Or do you want to run off all the time?
22 seconds remaining on our clock. The ball is placed at the 15-yard line. It's 2nd and 7, Winnipeg.
Everybody is figuring out what to do on the sidelines here.
29 yards rushing for Charles Roberts in this drive. Glenn plunges ahead, makes sure he has possession of that ball. And this sets up the fantasy, the dream ending for Troy Westwood. This is what he wanted to do. He wanted to come on in the dying seconds, and there are only 4 remaining to kick the game-winning field goal. He has a chance now. They're going to spot it at the 20.
This is what you dream about as a football player. Troy Westwood getting another opportunity in this game. Right where he wants the ball. Now it's time to make the most of it.
Time is run out. Game-winning field goal attempt from Troy Westwood. It's good! Bombers win!
Kick the game-winning field goal today. How does this feel?
Yeah, I should have put it away early, but this wind is insane in here, man. It's really hard to get a read on. The boys did a heck of a job on D and O at the end of the game there. It's just a great game, man.
What went through your mind when you missed that one, and how were you able to get your concentration, your focus back for the big one?
You know, I hit it perfectly where I was aiming at it. There's an insane, like a 40 to 60 west wind in here. All the flags are going left to right, and my ball flies the exact opposite way about 5 yards. It was just impossible. I couldn't believe it slid over like that. But man, you just gotta, I kicked it too high. I should have hit it lower.
Congratulations on a great game today.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, let's go back up to Steve.
Or any more dramatic than the dying seconds here at Canada Stadium this afternoon. The Bombers go to the Eastern Final with a 24-22 win over the Alouettes. Thanks to Troy. Hero of the moment for the Blue Bombers. They are headed for the Eastern Final against the Toronto Argonauts at Rogers Centre next weekend, courtesy of a last-second field goal from Troy Westwood, fulfilling a dream, fulfilling a fantasy, as the Bombers go on to defeat Montreal 24-22 in a game here under less than ideal conditions in Winnipeg this afternoon that had a little bit of everything, including a very gutsy, determined effort from the underdog Alouettes.
Oh yeah, Marcus Brady deserves all the kudos in the world. He played his heart out along with the Montreal Alouettes. Very good game by both teams.
The warrior of the game, and this could have gone either way because there were so many outstanding players. It is Marcus Brady of the Alouettes playing his first ever playoff game as a starter at the quarterback position. And he did a simply marvelous job for the Alouettes, using his core of receivers well, using his running game well. But in the end, a losing effort for Marcus Brady and the Owls, our warrior of the game.
Warrior of the game. Brought to you by the all-new 2007 GMC Sierra. Professional grade.
A cliffhanger here at Canada Stadium in Winnipeg. The Bombers win it 24-22. The game winner from Troy Westwood of the Bombers.